This week on RSBANDB Update, we return with 110 runecrafting, time runes, and new spells. We cover methods and XP rates for 2025 runecrafting, as well as the Expansive Pouch and the Masterwork Staff. We also discussed our first impressions on Mod North, the new Jagex CEO. This is RSBANDB Update, episode 1028, recorded Thursday, March 13th, 2025. Begging for threads. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of RSBANDB Update. We're back. We're being held together by just the very threads of time here as we head into discussing 110 runecrafting. I'll get into what all that means in just a couple minutes, but Paxi, welcome aboard.
Hello. Being held together by cough syrup and prayers at this point.
Yeah, something like that. Zerdones is also here. Welcome, Zerdones.
I am here and not sick, which is awesome for me.
Yeah, exactly. And I am here. I am sick. I am horrendously jet lagged. Despite missing last week's episode when I got home after, I would have probably done that show about maybe 18 hours after I got home. I went straight to bed.
I still think that would have been hilarious.
No, it would not have been, because I told everybody here, I got home on Friday. Mm-hmm. I slept 11 hours. Then I slept 14 hours the next day, and then 12 hours the next day.
There we go.
And I came back and I was very sick. You might still be able to hear a bit of that remaining cough and, just in general head congestion with that. But I'm actually able to think a little bit at this point in the week. Which was not happening up until 2 days ago, so that is good. But of course, welcome back, everybody. You'll hear more about the RuneFest experience on the next monthly bit that we do. In the meantime, of course, big huge thank you to our experienced tier Patreon members, for whom without update would not be possible. And this week, that's Amos Reed, Dominic R., Drama Free, Harry, Jason S., Jesse W., Kesky, Lemon Lodge, Luminos, Mr. T, Ricky A, Runestar, Psy Oasis, The Naked Captain, and Tim. And, of course, if you want to follow along, full show notes can be found over at update.show. We have the Friends Chatting game that you can find at BitsBytes, and the community Discord is over at update.show/Discord. And, I figured we'd just roll everything into this week, talk about 110 runecrafting, the new CEO, and a couple of other little bits and bobs as we go. And I figured I'd bring the both of you on the show because, Paxi, you said you were doing a lot with this update, and Zerdones, you had been following this one, and you were on 110 woodcutting, so I thought it would probably be a decent fit for that. So
yeah, I'm here for 110 skilling updates.
Yeah, how are just to before we dive into this one in terms of the runes and whatnot, how are we just generally feeling about 110 runecrafting?
It's 11 more than what we had, so that's good. It's 11 better. Right.
It's 11 more. Yeah. It's 11 more of the same general things, isn't it? It's just slightly different, right?
And some new things. And the new things in particular have been kind of directly related to what my account needs, my main account.
Right.
Not my iron.
Right.
So I have been well chuffed.
Okay, fair enough. Well, with that, I think we can just dive straight in then to the time runes. And of course, throwback to RSBANDB update of pre-2010, when we memed about time runes way back when. Little did we know that they would ever actually arrive, and now here they are, time runes.
Well, pre-2010, they were in the original skill guide.
They were, and they were, and I think the fun bit about that is that if you look at some of the original archive material that was in there for RS Classic. Even you would see that, and if you go back to actually some of the early material that Andrew, Paul, and the original game devs wrote, they were just making things up, right? There was no idea that there would actually be a time rune at some point, but you know.
I think someone interviewed, I think it was Andrew, about that, and he basically said he couldn't remember because it was so long ago, but his memory was that basically they were just brainstorming names, and then when it came time to implement high level magic, they had came up with more names than they needed. So time runes were just never implemented because we don't need them.
They just spitball world building. We love it.
Yeah, it's brainstorming. No bad ideas in a brainstorm. We just didn't need them at the time.
Yeah, and you know what I think one of the fun bits about that wound up for the time runes is that I think we have to give this one to Avernick. I think he was on the episode when we had the initial right click examine, and we did we either said that it was going to be up by the farming patch, the mushroom farming patch on Anachronia, or north of the Zolo City area for where the time altar would be, and lo and behold, it was indeed Anachronia for that reason. And I don't know if that was a good guess or if that was just logic, but lo and behold, here we are.
I think it makes sense because Anachronia is one of the few places that is explicitly
timey-wimey.
Weird.
Yeah.
Timey-wimey. Yeah. Thank you, Doctor Who. And I really do love speaking of timey-wimey, the unlocking for the altar, not needing a talisman, you just have to have the key and the level for it. I enjoyed the character model that had the hints of aging put onto it with the circles under the eyes and some of the second stuff is just they very, very subtly aged our character in Chathead, and just the very self-aware conversation, because I don't know about you guys, I knew to bring the key because the game told me to bring the key.
Of course.
Yeah. So I showed up and then I get this sassy dialogue of, oh wow, look at you being prepared. What do you mean you already have it on you? You just carry this through the other. No, you told me to bring it. But I did. So I'm very curious. I should have looked up the transcript for what that dialogue looks like without the key, because I'm curious. But
I think I got it. I don't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, basically just you tell yourself you need to go get the key. You can where you can go and find it.
Fair enough.
Go talk to what's his face at the museum.
Jorel. Yep.
And you know what? I think one of the other things, just looking into this, it really raises the question: does this now provide the path forward at some point of being able to do something else with that key, and maybe have some other temporally shifted stories, since that's maybe kind of a thing now here in RS, since we were told many times in the past that temporal things like time manipulation would be off the table. You think that opens this up at all?
And lost penguins.
Well, making and meeting history already did that, right? That was when you go back to the farm, you talk to Sarah and the early runecrafters, the early skillers, the first humans through the gate. It was there. I don't know if this opens it up more, but maybe it makes the key a little more on people's brains in terms of if they're looking for ideas for future stories. I don't expect it to show up in the Haven Heights story necessarily.
No, I don't think that would be that would be the spot for it.
But maybe later, or maybe for if they do fun side content.
It's a lever they can pull if they need to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Those quests are also the thing is, it's not you wouldn't do it for an event, right? Because those quests are something that prevents people from accessing it. But it would be good mid-tier content. If you had more mid-tier content to do, it would be a reasonable thing to tie that in as a requirement, I think.
I think it would be a fun milestone quest, like a Dimension of Disaster type thing.
Ooh, quest 300?
Ooh,
wait,
a lost in time Dimension of Disaster kind of thing.
Yeah.
On Anachronia, especially. Ooh, all right, you're cooking. I like it. Yo, what if the quest brings us to present day Anachronia? Because we
right, because we needled it from the past.
Time.
Yeah.
What if we unpull it forward? Yo, and it's just a freaking wasteland because the volcano exploded.
Well, yeah, because that would just be Fossil Island in old school.
Wait, Quest 300 is just old school Fossil Island? I'm in.
Oh crap!
Lock me in.
I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You would need to make the content
It's like a
RS3
trading method,
specific for it, but
I mean, regardless, I think we might have overcooked, but I like.
no,
what we're
that's
cooking.
fine.
It's tasty.
That's fine. That's fine. It's always a good opportunity to spitball quests going forward, isn't
Can we
it?
talk about the altar itself
Yes.
for a second too? 'Cause
Yeah, that's
holy
what I
smokes.
wanted to say.
Okay.
Like tying into what you were saying about the having that nice interaction with our future self. I like the environment that they did and incorporating that kind of timey-wiminess into the design.
Specifically,
of the environment.
the sand hourglass behind the altar.
Well, that, but also specifically the fact that there are multiple phases of it that you
I've
progress.
heard there were
through.
5.
Oh,
I haven't
really?
spent a ton of time there.
What do you mean multiple
I've heard
phases?
So like so when you enter the altar, you're frozen in a moment of time. So like there's animals that
Yeah.
are frozen. Sometimes there's birds overhead, but there's like 5 or 6 unique variations that basically progress over the course of like a day. So
There's
like
a
the sun will
nighttime
move.
version. There's
Right.
one with a bunch of scorpions out that looks like it might be either morning or evening. There's a camel that walks around the backside of the altar.
Yeah,
or
the birds
freezes.
fly overhead.
hmm
There's
The birds seem like they're change every time I go in, which is interesting too. But like, there's a ton of different.
Yeah, I think it's
The animals are the biggest thing for me. You can see different. There's at least one different animal
Right.
in each of the frozen.
Okay, I
frozen
see that
versions.
now. Like I also see the fire that's kind of just frozen in time as well.
Mhm.
With that,
Which is like, the environment team cooked. It looks so good. And like, if you're going to spend, 20 million or 80 million XP somewhere trying to be sweaty about it, that's a pretty cool. I mean, they cooked. I'm here for it.
It's really cool, and it doesn't draw attention to itself. You have to kind of notice it.
right.
Right.
And,
Well,
and,
except for
and,
the
and see
nighttime
that's
one. That one I
and,
definitely
and
noticed.
that's exactly it, because in the times that I've walked into it this week, like I mentioned, been sick and whatnot. The idea of picking out details like that really hasn't been on the forefront of my mind. So I basically just ran through, crafted my runes, and called it a
Water
day.
might change. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of really small changes, and yeah, like if you're just going through the abyss, like hardcore rune crafting, you're probably not going to notice it at first because you're focusing on getting up to the altar and crafting your runes and teleporting
IPM.
out. Yeah, exactly. For me, it was the birds that I noticed. I noticed that sometimes there were birds and sometimes there weren't.
Sometimes they were in my way.
Yeah.
Don't have click boxes, but still.
Oh, yeah.
They're not interactable. But...
Right, because if you pop in and out of it, you can get different skyboxes and color renderings on it.
I think there's 6 variations, and I think they progress in a linear order.
Okay,
so it's like
it.
It goes through the course of a day every time you enter.
That's really neat. And when you look at it, we've come so far with that, because the last one, Soul Altar, was a bit weird from where we latch onto it in Menaphos. And before that would have been Blood, which I believe was, 2008-ish?
I'm double checking.
I'm
right there with you. I'm looking it up now because
2008,
was it that? That recent.
It was that long ago.
So it's the last time we had a traditional runecrafting altar released. So it's been a minute. It's been a minute.
And with that, it kind of really makes you, stop to think that, so this is what it's going to look like for 110. What's the 120 rune going to be then? And how is that going to go for that? And,
armor feature us.
I think one of the interesting things about this when you tee this all up is that you realize with this altar and with this environment set piece, what a big piece of the 110 rune crafting update this is. In particular, just the idea of you're going to be spending some time here at the time altar, either making runes or imbuing.
when they first talked to us about it, there was a lot of talk about like combinations, and I don't know how much those go into the staff because I haven't looked into that as much. But
They don't.
they don't. Perfect. So they really scrapped that, and I'm kind of grateful because making combination runes is still kind of awful, and the fact that they are primarily drops kind of tells you something about that process. So I am kind of glad that they haven't. But that actually, yeah,
I'm
No
still
Omni
disappointed
Rune.
by that. I'm still disappointed by that because you're right. Combination
It
runes
needs a
suck to make.
rework. They suck to make, so they need a rework, and they
But
could
that
have
would have been that would have been the time to do it. This would have been the time
Maybe
to do it.
120
And
will
that's
give
what
us
they're
the
planning.
Omni Rune, and that will make that process easier or something. Who knows?
But see, here's the
Maybe.
thing. Would we be excited about combination rune rework? I mean, I'm sure you would be.
No.
Zuko. But I would not be.
I mean,
I don't think the
that's
vast majority
fair.
of people would be.
I accept that. That's a fair cop.
Yeah. There's also the question of the Runica tuner as well, and where this fits into the grand picture. But that's a topic for another day.
Or about 30 minutes from now.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I didn't know you wanted to go there, but fair. Okay. So that's time runes, the time altar. I don't think I have anything else comment wise on the environment with this and the process of making time runes and unlocking that. It's just a really nice touch to lean into the key. What was that, Sir Dons?
You know how to make time runes. If you know how to make runes, you know how to make time runes.
Exactly.
I appreciate that they kept so many of the systems and they just said, hey, here's one that has better XP rates than the previous ones and has a higher level requirement. Like they just took the Abyss, they took the skull, the thread, the like everything that you expect to do with it, and they gave you a teleport to somewhere nearby if you didn't want to use the Abyss for some reason. And they went with it. Pretty altar.
And that really raises the question, is there actually a problem with, abyssal rune crafting as it is?
Yes.
And we'll get into the XPs on that. But there's also the idea of imbuing the staves, orbs, and wands here at all of the altars. So the question,
this is a bit of a tangent, but the thing that bothers me with it is like it's the only dangerous activity in the game. Why is rune crafting the like PvP dangerous activity? Like what how did we end? Like why is this?
Well,
why
I
is
don't
this
think it's not the only one, but it's the only one that anyone does anymore. Well, because demonic skull still works at the agility course.
Oh, that's true. Agility, very temporarily.
And it also applies.
Yes.
Doesn't it also apply to the herb patch?
Yep, the herb patch, and I think also for some of the Slayer creatures in the wilderness
possibly
too.
And bloodwood trees, the bloodwood trees in the wilderness, I believe as well.
Yeah. So,
like, there are some, but this is the only one people do anymore because the XP is so good.
Right.
Well, the thread. I would say the thread, the profit.
Yeah,
I mean, and maybe that's the point of the skull is that you tie the profit to the PvP.
But
anyways, I don't like PvP. Me.
Yeah. But my question with this is that are there people this week, over the past 2 weeks after this has come out, who are training rune crafting by imbuing weapons?
Hi, I'm Taxi.
Okay.
One. We found one.
I am the one. They are for me. And if we want to talk about the comparison about why I've made that decision, that is a discussion we can certainly have. Unless there's something else you want to cover about imbuing and ascending before we get there,
well,
like what it is.
I feel like the process of imbuing and ascending is pretty much what we've come to expect with the 110 smithing, 110 fletching.
It's burial smithing, it's martial fletching.
You basically, at this point, you're just feeding rune essence to either the staff or the wand or orb for whatever you have.
I see
the comparison
level,
but the mechanics on it actually feels a lot more like soul rune crafting than either of those to me. Like they took the idea of that and just said, here's soul rune crafting, do it at any altar.
I think that I like that decision though, because that keeps the skills unique. Because even martial fletching, it's conceptually the same as burial smithing, but it's still mechanically, like the interactions are different.
So
It feels like fletching.
the difference here is that when you're doing smithing and fletching, you don't have to put in any materials, right? Like you put in a lump sum of materials out of a storage to start off, and then you click and you walk away, you make a sandwich, you come back, and 2-3 minutes later you click again.
Right.
Versus with this, you
Right, you have to go back.
You do actually have to the thing that makes you click is the fact that you have to go to a bank, collect more essence, and then come back. So that actual process is a little bit more involved to restart that XP gaining process.
Yeah, it's also because you have to go to the altars. It's not as convenient as the anvils or the fletching benches.
Yes, although Wicked Hood charges exist for mains, so I actually can't complain. But yeah, that's that to me is the difference, is that it is just like Soul Runecrafting. You bring essence to a thing, you charge it up, and you receive product. Which is, again, the experience on things you're seeing. The exception is ascending, which oddly requires no inputs. You can bring 28, saturated staves.
Yeah, because that's basically breaking it down with the burial ones, isn't it? Or the burial ones.
Yeah, the idea. The idea is just you're sacrificing any potential profit for XP. Not that these are going to be profit, but
Oh, that's the thing, though. I mean, not compared to Magical Thread, because lol, Magical Thread. But I'll jump ahead a little bit. That imbuing staves, because staves are 20% better than orbs or wands. Just imbuing staves is at base before any multipliers about 300k an hour. With multipliers, you're looking 350, 400k an hour XP.
And that's about on par with souls, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Well, maybe a little bit lower than souls. Yeah. It just depends on how. I
thought souls were around 425, 450.
I have looked at a lot of research this week. I have seen numbers that I think are semi-reliable, anywhere from 350 to 550. And I don't trust a number of those, but I think your references of 400 to 500 are probably right for people that are really paying attention to it.
Yeah.
But that's with boosters. So without any boosters at all, 350 is probably about what you're looking at.
Okay, that sounds about right.
Demonic Skull plus Abyss and no outfits, no catalytic stones, no potions, no yada yada.
And the question then that comes from that is that, obviously I think it's nice that we can have the new magic staves and magic orbs and whatnot, just to have them in there to create them up to starting at tier 85 to tier 90. I think that's good. That's definitely a net positive on this, but that imbuing discussion on itself then just goes into the XP rates for this, I think, because it, to me, raises the question: where exactly is this all going to fall? Because obviously we had souls, like we mentioned, around that 350 to 400 ish base, and then you can add in something like the imbuing and the ascending for a little bit more than that. Necrotic runecrafting was the top before we got the time runes here. So my question out of all of this is there a place for imbuing and ascending, or are people just going to fall back to time runes and necrotic runes and then souls?
Very, very broadly, I would say runecrafting falls into two buckets. There's high input bucket and low input bucket.
Right.
I mean actions per minute. So the high input buttons are crafting runes. That's crafting blood runes, crafting necrotic runes, crafting time runes, right? All of those kind of those are high input methods. Generally, all of those give you ridiculous, very competitive gold per hour rates, even with a lot of mid to higher tier bossing. A lot of those, especially when you're including
which is interesting when you
think
when you compare that to what you just said about mid to high tier bossing.
magical thread alone can be at like current prices close to 50 mil an hour. At prices before this update, which I assume it will fall back to, we're looking 20, 25 mil an hour, maybe a little more. So like the magical thread is a ridiculous profit margin, and pretty much all of the like the best way, the ways that you realistically get that is doing. I mean, yes, you can get some with the attuner, but realistically, it's doing the abyss with the skull. The attuner is also in that high effort category.
Yeah.
The low effort category for things includes stuff like the rune span, especially at earlier levels. Rune span is very good. Imbuing, ascending. And ascending, I think, is of special, and souls. And I think ascending is of special note here because it is the only one that you click once every 3 minutes, and somehow, by the grace of all that is good, you receive close to best in slot XP rates. Like, they're not going to touch time runes.
That's a shiny new object.
But you're like very close to what you expect with sweaty use of the attuner, and like better than almost everything else. And you click exactly once every 3 minutes. Like that's it. You just get that. The counterpoint to that is that it is negative 20 to 25 mil an hour at current prices. And I kind of expect that to go up because, again, it is so AFK. And if you don't care about money, it's still like 30 GP per XP. People pay that all the time for other stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's not unreasonable XP rates. Considering that, and then there's some other stuff that goes into that too. But it like, if you're looking at those buckets, imbuing and ascending both fall into that like low effort bucket.
My
previously
question,
your
though,
only options were
with
souls
that
of rune span.
Is that have people tried to sell that top tier of
Oh yeah,
of staff
it sells.
and it is selling this week.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
the price is going up.
Okay,
Slowly.
because what I ran into in double XP prior this last double XP is that I wanted to see if I could make some money off of selling the the 110 smithing products in particular with that, and they would not sell. The primal stuff at 3 and 4 would not sell.
Again, this is the deal: is that like with those, you still have to, like, smithing, you like don't have to worry about bars. Same with burial, same for everything. This ascending and imbuing are like at base different activities. Like imbuing requires you once every like 5 minutes or so to go back to a bank and come back, and gives you a little over half the XP you get from ascending. Like the XP is significantly different from like something else, although that's probably about the same kind of difference you'd get from like the burial stuff before. But the ascending things, you literally just bring a full inventory after whatever, like your runecrafting earn, infuse or whatever. Like you bring like 2 or 3 items for support, and then the rest of your inventory is staves, and you stay for a full hour. Like you don't have to leave. You can literally just second monitor it. Like it is completely AFK. It is the amazing XP rates of it all for like no work.
Is this what you've been doing for your pet?
Sell. I'm not ascending things. I don't have that kind of money anymore. Remember, I got hacked. So I'm doing imbuing. And we'll get to pet rates. But that is, so just like, with that said, like that's the reason I expect these to sell and to rise in price, is because it is just like people who just like look at runecrafting and then like, ooh, this skill is and has always been ass to train.
Right, but that only unlocks from level 90 runecrafting, right?
Oh yeah,
So
99, I think, actually, and you have to have access to the things to do it. But that said, though, like people going for 120s do 80% of that journey.
Yeah, 103 runecrafting. So I mean, and I mean, with that, I guess the question is, does the and the XP is different based on whatever altar you use, right? So time's going to be best.
It's based on what category of altar. Well, there's
ascending can only be done at the Orania altar.
Oh, yes.
Oh, right. So that's why, right? Because that was also in the news post that they gave that a fresh look of paint.
Yep, it looks pretty good too.
It looks, yeah, they did a good job with it. Like the side path on there is about the same length, I think, and than it used to be, not as long as the old school one, but it looks good. Imbuing can be done at any altar. If you do it at a catalytic altar, you get more progress than doing it at an elemental altar.
Yeah, there are level unlocks to improve rates at different categories of altar.
Which I think it says something about that I've not. Again, the fact that nobody's doing these methods other than me, smile, for XP, because they, how do I, like, I've not seen anybody else training them with me. And it's possible there are a lot of people doing it at the time altar because it's pretty. But, and I am hoping somebody corrects me on this, partially because I want to know. But as far as I'm aware, the closest altar in terms of time to reach it, the closest catalytic altar without a Wicked Hood teleport charge, is actually the lunar. It's astrals. It's the astral altar.
Closest to what?
To a
Like
bank. So if I'm banking
yeah.
to get more essence and then coming back to continue imbuing my staff, I think the fastest one to reach, actually with or without a Wicked Hood, is the astral altar, because it's the Wicked. You don't have to go into an altar. So everywhere else, even if you can teleport right next to the altar, you have to enter the altar, like do a separate loading zone to enter the altar, and then actually walk up. Versus astral, you literally teleport to MoonClan. And then you can literally click the ground next to the altar, and then when the altar's in range, you click the altar. It's 2 clicks to get actually up to the altar. I don't think there's anything faster. And I have seen nobody there. Like maybe one person for a day.
So are you afraid then that you're doing it wrong, or?
Nope. I just think other people are not prioritizing the things I'm prioritizing.
Okay, fair enough.
So let's do the comparison for the low effort methods, just because we're talking about ascending and imbuing. Right, the biggest comparison, like RuneSpan, obviously 80 to 100k XP per hour. There's 4 things to look at with Runecrafting XP, and one of them that is unique to Runecrafting is the pet chance. Runecrafting is in a very interesting state because the best in slot methods generally include the Abyss, and bonus experience from the Abyss, as far as I am aware, and somebody would have to try very hard to prove me wrong on this one. I need to see some JMod tweet or something that says I'm wrong on this one. I'm reasonably confident that you cannot get the pet from XP bonus to the Abyss. So the base XP, so like the Abyss gives you 250% XP if you use it, 350 with the skull. The extra XP from the skull and the base XP count. The bonus experience, like that 100 to 250 bracket, doesn't count for pet chance, as far as I'm aware. That's considered bonus experience, which means that crafting like soul runes to the altar might be 450,000 experience per hour, but only like 250 or 300 of that is eligible for pet. That's with the demonic skull. Without the demonic skull, it's half that much. You're looking like 100 to 120, 150k. Like, it's for how the runecrafting pet is, where it's about a 1 in 13 mil at level 110-ish. Just give you rough numbers. That's a lot of hours of soul runecrafting to get the pet. Given you have to do a lot of hours of soul runecrafting to, get 120 or 110 anyway, so maybe that doesn't matter. But the profit from that hour of soul runecrafting is also, like, with 4 or 5 thread, that's, you're looking like 4 to 6 mil profit. Again, more currently, but I expect that'll go back down. That is very, very similar to what you currently get from imbuing, where you get that 4 to 6 mil profit per hour. It's almost exactly the same thing because you're bringing essence to a place and then you're charging for an extended period of time. Souls are slightly more inputs, but it's like 1 input every 3 minutes instead of every 5 minutes. Like, it's apples, oranges, whatever. It's not that different. I guess it's double, but you get very similar things. The difference is that in imbuing, all of the XP you gain is eligible for the pet because there's no bonus for going through the abyss. So, like, imbuing is technically higher pet chance than soul runecrafting, given that it's a very similar profit and very similar, like, amount of clicks. And ascending, significantly fewer clicks, double the pet chance of imbuing. Like, ascending is unquestionably, by like 2 or 3 times, the fastest way to get the runecrafting pet right now. It's a little crazy. So for anybody who's hunting for pet and has a lot of money to burn, which I think a lot of people hunting for pets tend to do, super low intensity, and also best pet chance by miles. So that, to me, is the biggest category where Ascending kind of wins. Before this, again, RuneSpan's 80 to 100k per hour, all of that is eligible for pet. So that was the like super AFK option for pet hunters before this.
And
now we
I just want to say with that
rate.
RuneSpan itself, it's something that at the low to mid levels is immaculate for XP and leveling up, but I feel like it falls off probably around the 75 plus band.
It doesn't scale. It doesn't scale well really at all. It's always a decent training method if you just want to be AFK. It's always a decent way to get like strange rocks, although Altar Runecrafting counts each individual essence as a chance to roll a rock anyways, so that doesn't really matter. But yeah, for the low intensity methods, Ascending is expensive but really good XP and really good pet chance, and the most AFK option for training the skill, versus like Imbuing or Souls is somewhat AFK, a few mil an hour profit, nothing to write home about, and like reasonable XP per hour. For the average person, Souls are going given that it gives like 50% more XP than Imbuing, it's probably going to be a little better for like somebody who's actually training the skill and who isn't like looking for pet chance. I've been incredibly unlucky on pet. I'm 117. Like I just rolled the thing before 120. That's why I'm doing Ascending and I'm missing like 2 pets.
And now we see where the dots connect on that.
Right. If that wasn't, for people who have not been following this saga with me for the last several years, fire making and runecrafting have been the bane of my existence, and I am very dry on both. But anyways, so with that said, just to close the loop on methods, the high intensity methods, just to give people an idea of the numbers I've been seeing this week, time runes, oddly, if you're doing anything, time runes are currently the second best thing for pet because they're apparently giving like 1 million experience per hour. Somebody was telling me, which again, somewhat trustable source, but TBD. Currently they're solid profit. They're the best like gold you can get, or close to the best gold you can get for an essence, and obviously they give all the chance at magical thread of anything else. But obviously that's abyss training, so high input. But good money, up to like 1 million experience per hour potentially, with all of the boosts before bonus. I'm assuming that's without bonus experience, although somebody may have just been pulling my chain, but either way, the attuner without bonus experience is likely, big shout outs to Lemon on this one, because Lemon did a ton of testing this week, likely about 700,000 experience a week, or an hour. He did a lot of work this week, and it's about 700k per hour. With the Abyss and a Skull, a lot of that seems to rely on getting the Soul Altar for that last kind of the 50th Runecraft, which apparently is about a 1 in 5 chance.
Which I don't like that.
Depending on your luck, it could be anywhere from 600 to 900k per hour is seemingly what that is. You get a few threads, you get a couple extra thread from using the attuner. And it's, again, about 400,000 XP per hour eligible for pets. So it's like top 2-3 methods for the pet, which is not bad. You get good variety, so really good for Iron Men. But again, that's probably the highest input because you're going to different altars. There's no muscle memory there. You actually have to be paying attention.
Yeah, and if you don't have Wicked Hood teleports, then you're 100% banking on the Abyss with that.
But it does appear at the moment to be about second place overall for like you go time runes and then the attuner for XP rates,
which is honestly a little bit shocking to me.
Yeah.
Based on the discussion that we had about the attuner when it first came out.
And again, from there, miasmas seem to be about 500k XP per hour. That's a wiki rate, so take it with a big grain of salt.
That stands to about what I've seen from them myself.
Yeah. Again, almost all of that is pet eligible, so this would be currently 4th place in terms of like 3rd or 4th place for looking for the pet, kind of tied with the attuner would be miasma runes. Because again, most of that XP is pet eligible because you're not using the Abyss. Those are, according to the wiki with the numbers that seem to match up, 50 mil an hour in profit just in the runes because there's no thread. So that's going to be reliable. But again, super high intensity because that's basically assuming three plus trips a minute to the altar. So that is a lot of clicks. Blood's about 500k per hour, most of which pet eligible. I mean, it's an abyss method. And again, you get thread, so 40 mil an hour profit, high intensity. I think that covers just about all the different kind of general options, right? So everything from time runes at the top down to RuneSpan at the bottom.
And then souls fit in just a little bit down
directly
below
Bloods.
Below Bloods, right? Okay.
So if you rank by XP rates, time runes are the winner, then a tuner, then ascending staves, then miasmas, bloods, souls, followed by imbuing and the RuneSpan. The RuneSpan is a significant last place. That is just on there as
which for the amount of AFK that you have there, that I think that makes sense. And I think the thing that I walk away from this discussion with, there's two of them there. The first one is that I wasn't expecting the Runica tuner to be, at that level, because I know I've witnessed, discussions asking for the Runica tuner to effectively be, redesigned and rewritten.
It's so RNG
based on what's there. Yeah, it comes down to that RNG. And I think the second thing is that we have now, throughout the skill of runecrafting, we just have an entire spectrum of ways you can train this thing now. Mm-hmm.
I mean, just look at those top four, right? Like, time runes are going to be decent profit, but they're super high input. A tuner is going to be, like, a good variety of runes, although it's a pain to get a hold of. So, like, for Iron Man, if you can get one, really good. Ascending things is going to be great for people who are pet hunting or who have a lot of money to burn and want to AFK. Like, miasmas are people that don't want to do the abyss, but looking for that high intensity and profit to go with it. Bloods and souls, like, you're getting different intensity. Like, you've got varieties of intensity, varieties of output, varieties of profit, and, like, there's 3 or 4 methods in there that are they're good for different classes of player, which I think means that the skill has ended up somehow in an actually decent place. Everybody has a way to train it they don't hate.
Which, I mean, and this will be the thing that shocks people, is that the vast majority of these outside of the time rune stuff and the imbuing and ascending was already there prior to 110. And I know we have had discussions before on the podcast about whether or not you look at a skill like runecrafting, and is runecrafting a good skill? I think we've had that discussion on the group Iron Man side before. And when you look at it from, of course, at the low level stuff that we would have done with Group Iron Man to the the high level spectrum here, the answer is yes on that, I think. So, which is crazy because you look at it historically, and runecrafting, I think it was the most meme skill historically. Like, that's the skill everybody hated to train. Well, yeah, compare it to old school runecrafting, right? Which is, probably what the best reference we have for right now is that, for them, that cave takes a long time. It's either tons and tons and tons of Guardians of the Rift, or you run through the Abyss and get PK'd. No, I mean, they have their soul and blood runecrafting for higher levels. For lower levels, yes, but for higher levels, they've got other things. But it's still slow. It's still slow. We've been yapping a lot here. Zerdones, anything that you want to add on the XP or progression side with this?
I think it's kind of weird that ascending is both the most AFK and what am I thinking? Actually, maybe I am okay with those.
The best pet chance. It's the third
not pet chance. I was reflecting on how it's very expensive, and it's very good. It's comparable GP per XP while also being very good XP per hour.
30 GP per XP is a lot of that. Is like that's per training with Frost Dragon Bones. Like, that is that's pricey. That is pricey. Like, let's not twist this too much, that if you're paying 20-25 mil an hour, you're not getting worse experience than time runecrafting, which make you double that.
Yeah, okay.
let's,
All right.
let's not get this too twisted. But it is, again, it is the only method out of all of those that doesn't make you money. I mean, technically RuneSpan, but RuneSpan doesn't lose you money. Like, that is a lot of money to lose on it's one of the only production skills that is actually profitable. That's the other thing, is like most production skills, like you make something and taking the XP out of that item lowers the value. In this case, you take the XP out of the item and you gain value for Runecrafting.
And that's one of the more shocking things that to come out of this is that
half of that profit in almost every one of those methods is thread, and that is probably a problem.
Because the question is, how is that going to hold up? How is that going to hold up when we get to pouches and whatnot? But
we'll get there.
Yeah. So I think with that, I'm going to thank some Patreon supporters right now, because that brings us to the point where we had a good discussion on methods and XP rates and where we land on that. So I know we didn't get to thank Patreon supporters on the RuneFest episode, so we'll do that for the first of the month, as if this is happening now. So I'd like to thank Alaska, Alvaro L, Amos Reed, Arvids L, Bladecom, Brandon F, Brayton K, Chilbura, Dominic R, Drama Free, Duramax, Golden XP, Greg T, Guy Lafleur, Harry, Jade Gizmo, Jason S, Jesse W, Kesky, Lemon Lodge, Luminos, Meriwether, Mongraph, Mr. T, Pernasius, Ricky A, Robbie D, Runestorm, Samuel FL, Scott DS, Shirt Pants, Oasis, The Naked Captain, The Dabbing Goat, Tim, Ukulele Steve, Woody, Zant, and Zazakon. Big, huge thank you to everybody for supporting us and allowing us to do what we do here. And if you want to learn more about our Patreon offerings, head on over to patreon.com/RSBANB. We'll be doing a monthly bit this month. A bit of a behind the scenes on what happened at RuneFest and how we put that RuneFest episode together, plus with all of your questions and answers, anything about RuneFest. If you have any of those that you want to field, you can do that by replying to the pinned post on patreon.com/RSBNB. But for as little as $1 a month, you gain access to an entire back catalog of monthly bits or bonus shows, as we call them. The RuneFest episode will be one of those, as with all of the other ones that we've done in the past, all the world-famous tier lists, things about holiday events, legacy combat, so many episodes all available there in the backlog. We also have the VIP tier for $3 a month, where you'll get a special VIP rank on the Discord server, access to a chat channel, and a mention on the podcast at the start of the month. And, of course, we do have the Insider tier, where for $5 a month, you'll receive a shout-out on the podcast each and every week, and you'll gain access to the clips that we use to make the clip show at the end of the year. And, of course, we have Experience tier as well, but that's full right now, so big, huge thank you to all of our Patreon members for allowing us to do what we do here. It means the world to us. But patreon.com/RSBNB. Thanks so much, everyone. Spells? What are we doing with these time runes?
Spells.
Yeah.
We casting spells.
Yeah. And any favorites of the new batch here?
Ooh. I mean, I'm happy to see Crumble Undead back. That gives me happy feelings.
It is. I didn't dive too much into where we're going to be.
Terraket is trembling in his boots right now.
Oh, that's a throwback.
He is kind of the only place.
Yeah, well, Crumble Undead, it's just a straight increase to damage when you're fighting undead creatures.
So that would work for Vorkath, wouldn't it?
It would work for
if you wanted to use
if you
magic.
Doesn't work magic at Vorkath.
Doesn't work on Zemo though. I don't think.
No, because
it does not.
Dead.
No, I mean you'd change styles for him, but yeah. The teleports are cool. They good location theming for a time rune. Good high level locations that like would really realistically use high level runes.
And I think I go back to Mod Breezy's post when he was sourcing these, and I think I saw a lot of these come up when they were suggested by the community. So we got
they mentioned that in the news post that these were community sourced.
Yeah,
there is one exception to that, and I think the mountain camp teleport is a choice.
That is very much a bone to the Clue community.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
That's
okay,
what
that makes a lot more sense. I'm like, I have not been there.
It's a
my less than 100 total clues done in 20 years.
It's a clue step that's a nuisance to get to. The jungle is another one. The Western Karazi jungle
I
teleport.
kind of got because like there is some stuff that you can only get in there.
Like what? Holy water, and that's kind of it.
Like Umli's and Umli and like the leaves.
Why do you need Umli?
There was something I needed to go in there for the other day. Umli,
it's a good source of mahogany.
Is it? I think that might be an ingredient for wild pies or something. Like there was a reason I needed some for the group Iron Man recently, and I'm like, I have to go through the
that makes sense
because I hadn't set up the fairy ring yet. Now I have, thank God. But yeah, I didn't have the mushrooms the first time I went in, and I'm like, I'll just deal with it later, and I regretted dealing with it later.
No, I think the Karazi jungle is primarily that one. Also, I think is primarily aimed at cluers because it's kind of right in the middle of you have a scan step at the holy water fountain on one side, and then you have a whole bunch of scan locations on the other.
You gave time rune teleports to people who almost exclusively teleport without runes, but like strong work.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's cool.
We also got the Northern Lost Grove teleport.
That's the one that confuses me. Like, why?
Really? Slayer.
Like, sure, but like, fairy rings exist.
Yeah, but the fairy ring drops you on the south part, and if you actually look at the size of the place, like that is one of the furthest places from a teleport location in the game. Is the northern part of the Lost Grove? Like it is. The Grove is genuinely kind of like the Grove and Anachrony are both huge.
To be fair, that's not really
teleports.
That's not a high bar. Farthest location from a teleport. But okay, fair enough. I guess.
We have teleports everywhere, and there just weren't a lot of places left. So I like it as
we had a whole monthly bit about that. But
yes. That's a good one. Get it?
Plug
good shout out, good shout out. Yeah, I still take issue with the lodestone system. Yeah,
didn't we do an episode about getting around before?
Probably.
I gotta look into that.
Cool. But anyways, yeah, the teleports are cool. I'm happy to see Crumble Undead back, and I think it's like again we've been asking for so long for them to give us like situational stuff. Like old school's Dragon Slayer weapons, and they have been kind of
right. But where are we going to use Crumble Undead?
I think there's a lot of Slayer that I'm going to Slayer on. To be honest,
anywhere you're using it in undead creatures for Slayer. So like
think about all the places you use the Salve Amulet because it should be all the same things you can kill with the Salve Amulet, with the exception of Raziel, who only takes necromancy damage from Seal in her mod.
Which basically then with that at level 78 plus magic, you open yourself up to the way we train necromancy.
Yeah, the only caveat to that is the caveat that comes with every combat update now, which is why would you not use necromancy?
Because Crumble Undead does 30% more damage on a tier 99 spell. Because it's freaking broken. And also because of Temporal Anomaly, which we could save for later, but I'm going to choose to talk about now because it fits. Because Temporal Anomaly is busted. They finally did it.
So I want to just say that they're calling this an aspect, which is similar to how you cast something like there are
two aspects in the game currently.
Animate Dead and
darkness and Animate Dead.
Yeah.
Well, now there's three.
And they're both of those filled the same niche. They are defensive tools.
Yep.
Animate Dead is better if you're taking small bits of damage, and Darkness is better if you're taking big bits of damage. And Animate Dead doesn't work on other styles that aren't magic, so that's a problem. But we can talk about that later. Temporal Anomaly is the first one they've given that is straight up an offensive buff. This is Mo damage. And the way that they did it is screw your set rotations and muscle memory. We're going to make you work for your damage.
And remember
I
when
personally love that.
I want to go back to when we were beta testing the special effects for the tier 95 weapon stuff that came from Sanctum. Remember they said that we'd see that cooldown reset again at some point in the future? This is this right here.
Yeah.
For magic.
But no, I am a big fan of how they implemented this in terms of, like, it's going to be super annoying to use, but sometimes you're just going to, I mean, let's be honest, for the Revolution Andes out there, hi, my whole thing is you set up your bar such that the highest damage per time per cooldown ability is first, and this is just, I don't have to change anything. I just put this on and go do magic rotation with my current bars, and oh hey, look.
And you could in theory spellbook swap to standard to cast this and then swap back to ancient, right?
I always carry spellbook swap wounds. Like my most cast spell is Disruption Shield, and I live on ancients.
Okay.
Like it's just, I always have those runes on me for pretty much any style. This casting spellbook swap, having a separate spellbook swapping to normals, is just an extra button I get to add to my interface.
Yeah. So, and I know we've been talking a lot about, reducing cooldowns and whatnot, and basically what this does is that 12.5% of your magic power armor damage bonus is calculated as a chance to reset the cooldown of a magic ability when cast against a target. Maximum chance 20%.
Yes.
I think currently it's capped out at 15, but yeah.
Oh, is that bugged?
Well, no, it's just because of the tiers of magic.
Oh, I see. Fair enough.
I thought this was higher.
Well, it says with a full set of Elite Tectonic, Enhanced Carapac wrist wraps, the Blast Diffusion boots, the chance to reset a magic ability is 15%.
It may get up to 20 when we get tier 100 magic armor.
Have you tested this? Because I think that's wrong.
I think it's wrong. I did the math on it, and I think it's wrong, too. I haven't tested it. I think it's a little bit lower than that.
I did test it. I believe this... So the things that they're not including... Because I swear I tested this with... I mean, the way it's written is kind of funny, but I thought the magic... the cape, it might not like the combined... Zuck Cape, which is hilarious to me because I tested it with the uncombined magic Zuck Cape, and I believe that counted.
Oh, interesting.
Well, that would make sense, though, because the combined cape is a hybrid item.
I do not have tier 92 magic armor anymore.
Wait.
My magic armor is tier 80.
Oh, that's exactly it. Hybrid armor with a magic damage bonus does not contribute to this cooldown reset chance.
Right,
but
so
I swear
explicitly nerfed by using the combined Zut Cape.
I swear some of my jewelry was contributing too, though. So I don't know. Some additional testing may be required based on what the wiki says here, is all I'm saying. Because my brain was like, yeah, if you have tier 90 power, I had it in my brain when I looked at this the first time and like tested it on my main, that if you had tier 90 power armor, you could probably cap this with the things that I just threw on to test it. And I'm like, that's really awesome. That means that if they make future, like when they make tier 99 armors or whatever, that like it won't increase the power level of this spell. Like this spell kind of gets a capped, which is probably where they will eventually get to, even if you can't hit the cap quite yet. They're basically saying, when we release 120 magic, it might cap a power armor tier 99, whatever it is.
Yeah,
and I think that's like better design space personally, but yeah.
But also 20% chance to just be able to hit wild magic twice in a row. just like that's great. Double a 6-8, great. I can kill my raid group even harder. like just there's I like this. I like this as a spell. I like that it forces you to have a dynamic rotation. I like that it is a damage buff instead of a defensive buff to like offset the overpoweredness that was Animate Dead.
And what it's doing with that, making
like,
making the magic rotation dynamic, what it's doing with that is it's bringing that aspect of necromancy to magic. Because that's exactly what necromancy is about. It's about that dynamic rotation that goes based on you firing off whatever stacks you have available at that point. Also, Sunshine and Metamorphosis will not be reset with this, nor will magic special attacks.
Good. So the things that are bigger than thresholds, which again, I'm just saying, like if you just have... Like, in bossing, I tend to not have thresholds in my Revo bars, but like especially for Slayer, I don't typically have ultimates, but I will absolutely put threshold to the start of my bars. Having like a properly set up Revolution bar uses this in a literal sense perfectly. Like that's the craziest thing to me about it is that if you just run Revo, you don't have to worry about adjusting your rotation and putting in more effort. Revo just uses this right. And I think that's so cool. The Revo lover in me is very happy about that.
Yeah, that's good.
Like it's a big damage buff, and it's encouraging people to wear power armor with love. I take that back. With 0 love to Crypt Bloom, I still think it's OP. There is now an encouragement to actually wear magic power armors again.
So this is something big for Magic, just like Bolas Guardian and Dracolich was for ranged, which I think is good that we're seeing this on both sides of the style. And
Necromancy was for Necromancy.
Yeah, exactly.
For everything.
Yeah. Moving on to the other ones, Paradox.
Yeah, cool.
Targeting trees, mining locations, and fishing spots and box traps will allow you to gather from them in 2 different points of time, yielding additional resources or additional damage in the case of mining locations, giving you reduced XP. It lasts for 30 seconds. So this is pretty much all your wood, all your fishing spots.
It's the logical opposite of crystallize.
It's
just crystallize, but inverted.
Yes, and it's like in the same way that you can, like for divination, you can turn memories in for XP, or you can turn them in for additional energy. This is the turn them in for additional energy option. This is like, I am so excited to use this on the Iron Man because I'm going to hit, 99 or I guess 110 mining and be like, all right, well, I don't want XP anymore, but I could really use the ores that I'm here to mine more of. Or, I'll hit 110 woodcutting and then I'm going to need like 4 different skills that use eternal magic logs because they keep putting eternal magic logs into things. And I'm like, all right, well, let's just paradox on these trees. The main I can buy things, but I'm very excited for this.
Also,
if
we ever decide to go Grenwall hunting with Hunter, there's that too.
Or decide to when we get back to it. Thank you, Pern, for the work that you've already put in. But that's just generically, I mean, even mains that are trying to make money. Like if you're making money for whatever reason off of like stuff, because the runes for this, if memory serves, they're not terribly expensive, right?
It is 8 chaos, 8 astral, 6 soul, 2 time.
Ooh, 11K per cast is kind of pricey. You'd have to make more than that. But there's definitely times, places, and especially, I'm going to say things, I'm assuming you can use this on the Arc. It'll speed up gathering soup ingredients to collect the chimes, so it'll speed up that salty grind a little bit.
Yep, it works for bamboo and golden bamboo.
No, it's unaffected. I think you're reading the wiki wrong, Shane. It says unaffected.
Oh, unaffected, right.
That's a darn shame. I don't think you could crystallize this, so that makes sense. Although, if I'm wrong on that, somebody will tell me. And thank you for that. But regardless, Paradox is cool.
Yeah,
I like it. That was the spell that will certainly receive use for at least Iron Men.
Yeah. Advanced time. Complete active archaeology research. Complete all active ports voyages in one cast. This is an important one if you ever get those trio voyages that you just don't know if they're going to fail or not.
And you just can't stand to wait.
It doesn't say they succeed. It says they return.
You just don't have to wait to find out.
Yeah. It's That's the Voyager's comeback. They don't necessarily win.
It's going to be more useful for if you're trying to farm ports resources.
Okay.
For all of us that are still progressing in an account, these are all honestly really cool. I was talking to people unrelated about this for my main. I think the dinosaur farm might be okay profits. The rest of this kind of seems like garbage.
That is my assessment as well on this.
Approaching completionism.
Yeah.
Because like the sandstone don't care. Arc contracts, excuse me, not even on the iron. Anachronia base camp, I mean, I guess, especially if you're doing stuff.
If you're going for NQC.
Or if you really want the salamander necklace, actually, is the other one for that. If you don't have it, necklace of salamancy, that's nice.
Yeah.
But like my Iron Man, my Anachronia base camp is done. Like I'm well past finished with it. So I don't know. Managing Miscellanea does not. I'm sorry, Miscellanea, honey, you're old. You don't give anything. You just don't. I get like 100 herbs a week that are useful.
We're also forgetting the caveat with this. You can only cast it 3 times a week.
Yeah, so that's the thing is like, what are you going to use it on? And I think like if you hate ports, you do 3 ports Voyages sets a week, and you don't do it as a daily. You just take care of that business and you move right along.
Yeah.
Archaeology, if you're like 24 hours, that's going to be useful once or twice if you're going for your the qualifications and you haven't been sending them as you go. Like, because it sucks to get to a qualification and realize you need a full week worth of research and you've only had like 3 days because that was your like getting the last couple of those, like that is potentially having a solution to that. Really cool given 93 magic, but that's fine. 93 magic is actually boostable for mid 70s even, or high 70s, so that's not terrible. And you can get the time runes from the Arania altar, even if you don't have the level to craft them yourself. You can get a stock of them, not a big stock, but if you wanted to, again, we're bringing some life back into Arania by giving it an even higher level rune that if you can't craft yourself or buy, if like an Iron Man, like our Iron Man could get some time runes by doing Arania. So that's pretty cool.
So I guess what I'm hearing then is that the highlight is definitely Temporal Anomaly, Crumble Undead, and the Lost Grove teleport.
I mean, Paradox and Advanced Time are both going to be awesome for the people who have a use for them, and especially for irons, I think. Especially for the new irons. Yeah, they did good with these spells. The spells are cool, and they'll get used, except for maybe a couple of the teleports. I don't do clues.
Oh, the teleports will get used.
Yeah, maybe not the Northern Lost Grove, as we talked about, but
the other ones,
definitely,
for sure.
One of the Anachronia teleports is definitely for archaeology, and the one is definitely for... Oh, actually, where does the Eastern one put you?
The Eastern one puts you basically, like if you make a triangle of the Lampin Flora, Liverworts, and the Rex Matriarch layer, it puts you basically right in the middle.
So kind of near like the Overgrown Idol?
It's good access to Herbie Werby and the tier 2 big game dinosaurs, and a couple of the Slayer monsters like Liverworts and Lampin Flora. It's not bad for Rex Matriarch, but the boss portals are better.
It'll save you a good amount of time.
So overall, it's a pretty good job then on all the spells. Then.
Yeah. No, they did a good job.
The Anachronia teleports are kind of low hanging fruit because of just how god awful.
I think both of them are inherently useful.
It's interesting because they found locations on Anachronia that weren't next to dig sites. Then they found spots that didn't already have a teleport for people who were maxed. The people that had high archaeology and had those teleporters unlocked. So that's good.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think the Northwest one is all that useful.
It's just the time altar. It's the time altar for people who don't want to go through the abyss.
Mushroom
Cannibal
Patch.
Dinkos. Mushroom Patch, though, put the totem of the abyss. The
abyss, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the teleport totem.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Although I guess if you don't have that, I don't know off the top of my head how you get that one. It might be
it's not hard. It's not one of the harder ones.
Okay, well then I take that back.
I think because the easiest one to get is the totem of navigation.
Right.
It's Herbie Warby Purchase, Big Game Hunter, and Yellow
Okay.
Salamanders. So
Big Game,
it's
yeah.
fine.
Big Game
It's fine.
Hunter is kind of annoying, but not bad.
Oh, not even Yellow Salamanders. It's just found on the ground. So literally, the worst requirement for this is 75 Hunter and 55 Slayer.
And
That's the
doing
only.
Big Game Hunter for a while.
Yeah, or getting really lucky.
Yeah.
Optimism. That'll
But
be
like
me this week.
other than the Time Altar, the Northwest Anachrony teleport is Cannibal Jadenkos. Okay.
It's
Venomous
the
Dinos.
Slayer. There's a Slayer creature that's up there.
Yeah, Venomous Dinosaurs.
No, just south of it, because it drops you off to like the left side of the altar.
The only
the ones that throw the poison at you.
Liverworts or Devil's Snare, maybe.
I don't know. I thought there was a Slayer monster there. They might have actually moved that Slayer monster.
There is one, but it's farther down south, and I think it's easier to get to from the archaeology teleport.
Gotcha. And to be clear, I can access these teleports on my Iron Man like a month and a half ago. I won't be able to access the archaeology teleports for like 300 more hours of archaeology.
Well, there you go.
You need 90 to unlock those, I think. I think that's
a pretty good example then right there of where these fill in. So right on.
Getting 10 minutes is going to suck, but
well done.
Technically.
The Expansive Pouch?
Yeah.
Big pouch.
Big pouch. I have been loving the fact that I have it.
Oh, you have it already?
So I logged in 5 minutes after the update because I was still awake because I am a gremlin. I'm on the West Coast, so it was only like 4 a.m., but it was still like 4 a.m. And I was able to figure out the pouch. So the only instructions we got was go to Wizard, rinse it, and he'll sell you a component for the pouch. That is the full of like on release morning. That was what we knew.
Which is the Hungry Hood.
Talk to him.
The Hungry Hood.
Yeah, when you talk to him, he's like, do things. And when you talk to the Hood, it tells, feed me things, do me things. Once you've finished feeding it 50 talismans and a bunch of essence, obviously all 5 pouches, it tells you to go. It doesn't tell you what to do with it, and he doesn't really tell you what to do with it. So there was this time of like
he does,
10
but you have to be paying attention.
He doesn't say directly take it to an altar. He says like do some crafting with it or whatever.
I'm pretty sure he says something like imbue it with power from elemental power from an altar or something to that effect.
I think you're right,
but it's something you do have to be paying attention to the dialogue.
And you have to buying it doesn't bring up the dialogue. You have to talk to him after buying it to get that dialogue. But there was this period of like 10 to 15 minutes after the update where people were trying for their lives to figure out what the hecking crafting recipe was for this pouch because we didn't know what went into it.
Yeah.
And I was able to figure it out, go to an altar, get that crafting menu open to see all the different things I needed to like get for it. And then travel to the GE and buy the threads before they were a mill. So I got a cheap
they exploded.
Within 5 minutes after that, they were 1.4 mil. Within an hour after that, they were up to 4 mil each for thread. So they got pricey real fast. People were literally begging for threads.
As we kind of alluded earlier, thread is really uncommon.
Yeah. I
mean, you get stupidly uncommon.
And that's the question. With this pouch needing 100 thread, is it a good idea to be, in effect, at this point, doing our profit analysis of 110 runecrafting based on that thread?
So I'm not, actually. All the profit numbers I did were actually thread slightly between 600 and 800.
Oh, okay.
That all of the numbers I listed
they were at prior to
with
the
that
update.
Assumption. Prior to the update, they were like 500K. Okay. I expect they will land a little bit higher than that. But currently, as of this moment, they are about 1.3, 1.4 mil. They are still dropping very slowly.
Yeah.
As people are actually runecrafting right now.
And as all the compers have got their pouches.
Well, yes, because they put it as a completion requirement, not even a trim, but completion is
Yeah,
like a lot
I
of
think
people
that's
needed 100
weird.
thread. People who really like the capes. So it was thread was a big thing last year. You could make a lot of money off of farming for threads with a number of methods we don't need to talk about because they're not currently accessible anymore. That'll be a patch note for next week. But the long story short is that, magical thread being a requirement. And because I did not expect it, making the pouch, within a couple hours of release, the jump scare rune doku. Because there's you click that pouch, it says, oh, hey, the pouch is sealed in like a 1-sentence dialogue. And then you click OK, and a Rundoku screen opens. Like, there's no preamble to this. It is like you've gotten your Ilmace thread from crafting 10,000 total runes through the abyss.
We should maybe back up and go through how you make the pouch.
The ingredients? Okay.
Because we're kind of jumping all over the place on this.
No, that's true. Let's do that.
Step one is you go to Wizard Rinsett, who is the RuneSpan vendor, and he will. Yeah, not the one who sells the Wicked Hood, the other one. And he sells you the Hungry Hood for 20,000 RuneSpan points, which is a lot. The Hungry Hood, you then feed it one of each type of the pre-existing runecrafting pouches: a small, a medium, a large, a huge, and a massive. And sidebar, this kind of annoyed me, and it annoyed a lot of people, because if you have them in your inventory, it just takes them without asking. And so you have to go and get them back to go into runecrafting and get all your thread.
Well, you can, and that'll be the thing that I'll say here, is that you can, you get the first one for free from the Dark Mage, you get the second one for free from the guy in the Wizard's Tower, then you can buy the next two for GP.
30, 40, and 50.
Yeah, and then
I was able to get them all back in the Abyss.
Yeah,
other than the one that costs 1,000 RuneSpan points, all of them in the Abyss in less than 10 minutes.
It's not a huge inconvenience but
it is annoying that it doesn't have a confirmation dialogue. I agree.
All right, continuing on the list.
Once you've done that, you have to feed it amulet or talismans. It doesn't matter which kind, but it seems like the number scales with the level of the talisman. So
it took exactly 50 water talismans for me.
And I used 35 earth talismans.
Huh. Okay.
So, yeah.
So there we go.
That, you then have to take 2 dinosaur leather, 1 royal dragon leather. Yeah, that jumped in price because that is also stupidly rare. You have to get the intact dinosaur hide, which is only dropped from Big Game Hunter, and it's a 1 in 10 drop. Mm-hmm. I did 3 full rounds of Big Game Hunter, like 45 minutes. I got 0 intact hides. I said, nuts to this. I'm just buying them.
Yep.
Because that was too much Big Game Hunter for me.
I think I spent like $2 mil a piece on them because they were already up a little bit.
Oh, I bought them.
I did not realize they were going to be expensive, so I didn't buy them immediately.
I bought them at mid, so I must have gotten lucky.
No, I mean, I bought them half an hour after the update, so everybody else had realized what was required for the pouch and had bought them all up. So you might have been a little bit later than me.
That could be. Okay, so 2 dinosaur leather, 1 royal dragon leather, 10 felt, which is the archaeology material from Orthan, a sign of runic protection, which is a new item that you make out of incandescent energy. You need 2,500 incandescent energy, which is nothing. No, that's even if you're Iron Manning it.
During our recording, my Iron Man has earned 20,000 incandescent energy.
Yeah, even if you're not, like, I went and I did it with just the outfit and no other boosts, and I had it within 10 minutes. So, nothing. 100 magical thread, which is, as we discussed, hard to get. And you get that from runecrafting through the Abyss. Greatly
we need one large rune pouch worth of thread, which I kind of get what they're cooking with it, and it is a runecrafting resource. It makes me kind of hate that the rune pouches use it as a resource. If you're like too many things that use too much of it.
And it's too
Because
rare
rune
and only
pouches,
one source.
rune pouches need to be cheaper. Like, I take issue with the fact that somebody who wanted to buy a new grasping rune pouch this week could potentially have had to pay 300 mil. Like, that ticks me off. That, like, for that amount of quality of life, that's not right. But anyways.
So all of that, and then the last thing is Ilmay's thread, which is a new item, and that is no one tells you how to get this that I was able to find. I only found it out. I can't remember if you told me or if I found it on the wiki, but it appears to be randomly obtained while crafting runes not in the Abyss.
So
it's not random?
It's not random. You have to craft exactly 10,000 runes.
Interesting.
Without entering the Abyss.
Without entering the Abyss. So, like, and I'll give Dennis credit for that, because he's the one that figured this out in Clan Quest, because he did a ton of time runes and then went to the air altar just for, like, screw it, I'm trying it. He got it in 4 trips. I did a good amount of time runes first, and then a good amount of astral runes, because I'm like, well, they're here, why not? I don't know. Because I was trying to, like, do all of the elemental ones, because I was, like, looking up who Ilme was from the Gift of Gothics and, like, what would be associated with her, and, like, so I was doing some of that kind of stuff. So I crafted a handful of runes. It took me 7 trips. Like, it seems, and then somebody did it raw at the air altar, 11 trips. Like, it seems like it is exactly 10,000 runes you get the Ilme's thread. And I could be wrong, and maybe that's just bad luck protection on it or something, but it seems like you just go to air runes. Just go to air runes.
I did it raw at the air rune altar, and I think I was about 10, but it could have been 11. So maybe that could be.
And that sounds about right based on what your multipliers are going to be for air runes at your level.
Yeah.
So that is.
So either way, it scales to the altar. Because I had it in my notes
with lower tier altars and non-abyss give you an increased chance to obtain it, which is very interesting.
I think I seem to remember that you specifically can't get it from the Abyss. It has to be going through. I'm not sure about that.
But I mean, just like the 2500 energy, at this point it is likely to be trivially easy to obtain for people who are looking for the pouch. On release day, it was a really cool puzzle to figure it out. Morning of release.
And to be fair, at this point, the wiki does say that it is outside of the Abyss.
10,000th rune, entering a rune temple without using the Abyss, including necrotic runes. So that's interesting.
Does it count? I wonder if it starts counting before you hit 99 or before you buy the pouch.
Like, I wonder if you can get it before buying the pouch.
Okay, so he has a reclaim. Wizard of Runeset has a reclaim option. He will give you for free the Hungry Hood.
Yes.
And I'm assuming he will also give you
the
thread back. Cool. So there you go.
Yep. Okay, so you have all that stuff. You take all of that to any runecrafting altar. You do a lot of imbuing, and you will get a sealed expansive runecrafting pouch. In order to unseal it, you have to do a 9x9 Rundoku puzzle. Throwback to the feud quest.
I mean, you can still do it today on any account as long as you've done it before. It gives you cheaper runes. You get
but who
cheaper
wants to do
to
that is the question.
People who are really into Sudoku.
The amount of time required is not worth the rewards in the current present age, unfortunately.
No, it's not.
But very, like, when that popped up, like, morning of release, and I'm kind of exhausted because I should have gone to bed a while before this, and I'm like, ooh, that was
some Sudoku.
I do kind of love Sudokus. They were one of the puzzles I really enjoyed doing as a kid. So, like, I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of fun. But I could absolutely see that being, because on the morning release, and I don't know if this has been fixed, apparently the RuneLite solvers and the wiki solvers didn't work with this puzzle.
Oh, awesome.
So people had to actually do it by hand.
Well,
and the fact that being terrifying to me is hilarious.
You don't actually need to do it
by puzzle.
You don't actually need to do it by hand. Even if you don't use RuneLite, you can do what I did, which is find a Sudoku solver on the internet, of which there are 10 million.
Number?
Yeah, just assign each rune a number from 1 to 9.
Well, I didn't make any mistakes, and I felt very proud of myself when I got that pouch unlocked. I'm like, I get to use it, and joke's on me, it's not ready to be used yet.
And then were you dreaming?
Then
were you dreaming about Sudoku and math when you went to bed?
I was not. No,
Okay.
I did not dream. I was tired by the time I actually made it to bed.
So once you've done all this, you then have to go and take it and mine Rune Essence. Party like it's 2004.
Given it eats the Rune Essence, so you just have to click the Rune Essence thing once and walk away until you have a pouch, which is fine.
Yeah, I think you have. It's like 70 Rune Essence, I think, so it's not even very long.
It's just the amount that would take to normally to fill the pouch, right? Something like that.
Probably. Yeah. That would make sense. Because it holds 70 essence when you finally obtained it.
This is just hilarious to me that it takes this long for this, and we're not even at the Masterwork Staff yet.
Well, it is kind of it's a Masterwork skilling.
It's a Masterwork skilling.
Masterwork pouch,
yeah.
I mean, when you look at the cost and it's just a quality of life upgrade,
and a lot of it stays within the runecrafting ecosystem too, I think, which is good.
Yeah. Almost all of it. You do need 95 or boosted to 95 divination if you're an Iron Man. Orb. Yeah, actually, I don't think the portrait is tradable, so you need to have 95, be able to boost to 95 divination.
Yeah, and you need 75 Slayer, or 75 Hunter and whatever Slayer for Big Game Hunter.
Oh, right.
For Iron Man, yes. Not for main, though.
That's not for main.
But anyways, so that's cool.
The other interesting thing about the pouch is that it replaces all of your other pouches. Mm-hmm. So if you did what I did and lost your first set of pouches and had to go replace them, they're now useless.
Yes.
Only the expansive pouch matters.
Yeah.
On release, I think you said there was a trick you could, but I think that's been patched.
They patched it out. Yeah, they patched it out last week. There was a thing with the pack yak, but now there's no reason.
I think that's the same. I don't mind rewarding people who are ridiculously APM.
I hate the pack yak which is unable to hold essence, being the best in slot runecrafting familiar. I hate that. That's a no from me, boss.
No, I don't know. I don't mind it. I think it's sufficiently obscure that
you have to have 96 summoning. But the thing about it is that
it's sufficiently annoying to have to do that I think
it's not, though. That's the problem. Is you just cast the scroll once and you can suddenly carry 45 more essence. Compared to
you have to keep doing it every time.
Yeah, but the scrolls are cheap then.
Sure, but
and when you reload the preset, it'll just pop your pouches back into your inventory. It's nothing else in your rotation changes at all, except that you can't use the runecrafting. The runecrafting familiars become dead content. And I kind of hate that unintentionally becomes dead. Technically speaking, I think if you wanted to use imps in a box, it would be better.
Why are we bringing the pack yak in this case, anyways?
So the pack yak scroll allows you to bank one item.
Sure.
Using the scroll. So you cannot withdraw essence from, or on release day, you could not withdraw essence from any of the pouches while you had the new pouch in your inventory, because the new pouch was supposed to replace them. So the way that they did that was if you have the new pouch, you can't draw essence from out of the others. The workaround with this was you just use the winter storage scroll to bank the new pouch, and then you took the essence out of the old pouches and crafted it.
Oh, I see. Okay, so that is something that works around the edges then, I guess, for that.
Nope, it's bug fixed. It's not in the game anymore.
So forget that then. Okay.
It's clearly hypothetical at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the Masterwork Staff then. I realized that was a big roundabout process for creating one pouch in particular for this. Are either of you doing the Masterwork Staff?
I am about probably 2/3 of the way.
Okay, so you're pulling an average.
I've done everything that I can do without buying weapons.
Okay, and which weapons are you being held up on? I'm assuming the seismics.
The seismics and the Hellweir weapons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
because
Which
I
is-
could buy them, but I'm not going to.
Tax, you remember a couple years ago when all those nuts were going crazy at Hellware?
Yeah, I'm still. It hurts me a little bit that they'd used the hellware weapons for this. If I'm being honest, I mean, I understand that they don't have. No, actually, I don't. I take that back. They should have used porch weapons or something. I mean, I guess those aren't tradable. It seems like with the attuned crystal weapon, which isn't tradable anyway. So why am I? It bothers me that Sewer is the way that they went with this, because the Sewer weapons already, you need 5 of them to make a set of the codexes for the greater abilities. Like, they already have several syncs in the game for the Sewer weapons.
Yeah,
They're
we were talking about
expensive.
that a bit before 110 Runecrafting launched, just the weight that those Hellware weapons had on them for it.
And when wands and orbs were super expensive, which again was a little while ago, they were like odd. They were a really good trade. Like, it bothers me that that's the direction they went with that. Maybe there just isn't a better option.
I think it's more. Yeah, I think there's just not a better option, and it maintains some thematic similarity. Because
the only staff they used is an untradeable staff. And I understand not using the Nox staff because you've already got something that uses Nox components in the bow. But, like, come on.
Well, I mean,
another staff.
But if you look at the other, but if you look at the other weapons that are involved in this, your other choices are basically, if you don't want to do that, you go further up and you go for the AOD weapons, or you go for the stuff that came from Sanctum last summer. And
you get the wilderness drop weapons. Use essence from the annihilation, but like you can break down any noxious weapon to get the noxious stuff. Let me break down any of the wilderness weapons to get components for this, because there's 288 wilderness weapons that just don't have a use right now. And I don't mean the worm scalp and the worm weapons. I mean the annihilation, decimation, and
annihilation.
Yeah, because there's those 2-handed weapons at tier 88 that don't get involved in this crafting process, and they drop out of regular wilderness slayer now. You don't even have to do like bounty hunter or funky wildy test to earn those anymore. They're just rare drops.
I think the primary reason they didn't is to keep the thematic similarity with the sword in particular, but to some extent with the bow as well.
Yeah, that's my feeling on it as well, is that it had to come from some form of adjacent boss.
Well, because looking at the weapons that go into making the sword, you need chaotics, the 2-handed weapons from the Furies, and the what was it? There's a high T90.
Drygor, KK.
Drygors, yes.
Oh, yeah, the Drygors, yeah.
So, like, breaking that down categorically, you need something untradeable that uses a domain-specific currency, like attuned crystal weapons. You have the tier 85 God Wars 2 weapons, like the Hellware weapons, and you have the tier 90 dual wield, like the seismics. It's the same categorical inputs.
The problem is that we didn't have. I mean, I guess we had Karoming before. I don't know. I just don't. I take issue with using the Hellware weapons for this. Maybe I shouldn't. But anyways,
Hellware's not a complicated boss to go for. What was that, Zerdone? Sorry.
No, Hellware is not a complicated boss to go for. I take much more issue with the seismics. I was expecting it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, seismics are expensive. They're a lot less expensive than they used to be, granted, but they're still quite expensive.
The problem is they are dropped from a group boss. It's the only one of these that isn't dropped from a solo-only boss, right? Like,
well, not only that, they're also, like, the drop mechanics on them are really kind of brutal, because a kill will only ever drop one for the entire group.
Well, they're rare enough that you wouldn't really realistically be worried about getting 2 drops at a... I mean, it's like being worried about getting the fact that you can get 2 AOD weapons in a drop. You just don't. They're rare enough that shouldn't be an issue. The bigger issue for me with those drop mechanics is that, like, if you wanted to farm them, it's... Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
It's pain. It's basically pain to learn solo Virago. Is what you get to with that.
Oh, learning solo Virago is very difficult. Yeah, you have to have people with you. The other weapons for every other part of the Masterwork crafting for everything does not require you to do a group boss. It's the only group boss required.
Or let me put this in a different way. Just go craft time runes and make money until you can afford to buy a seismic or two off the exchange.
See, counterpoint Iron Man.
Fair. Okay.
Every other one of the, like, I could make, given it takes a load of work to get an ascension on an Iron Man. So sacrificing that feels bad. But everything else from the Masterwork stuff up to this point is entirely Iron Manable solo. Virago, good luck. I mean, you can do it. Solo Virago is doable, but it sucks.
The other thing about this that kind of throws me is that you don't just need one, you need 2 seismic weapons.
No, you only need one.
Do you?
Nope, that's patched. It was broken week 1 where you only got 1 essence per seismic.
But you need 4 binding essence.
Oh wait, really?
Yep.
Damn,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you do need a full set of seismics. That actually hurts.
Yeah.
That's a choice that they made.
Well, I'll just say that I was smiling happily when I bought my seismic orb about 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, I bet you were.
Why did you buy a seismic orb 4 weeks ago?
Because I had the wand. I just needed a second one.
You were anticipating that this would be needed,
yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
It was the reason.
Because that's, like, when they did the Nox weapons, they only needed 1 Nox weapon.
Yep, you only need 1 Nox weapon. And you only need 1 Ascension weapon.
It's similar right now, but yeah, both, that does sting. Especially since it stings even more that was bugged on release, that it only gave you 1 essence.
Although,
yes,
but they are going, like, if you got burned by that, they know who you are and they're going to
they'll fix it. Good, they have to, because that's a lot of gold.
I think trying to make sense of it in my head, I think the way it makes somewhat sense, like comparing it to the bow, for instance, where you need 1 Nox weapon, 1 Ascension weapon. 1 Nox and 1 Ascension weapon are...
But Ascensions are also one-handed.
Well,
and
they're
also one-handed.
They're also both more expensive than a seismic and a Kuir weapon.
For now. But
well,
I suppose that's true.
I mean, I think that's going to be true regardless, because it's going to be a similar. If anything, I think the bow is going to become the bow components are going to be more expensive.
So,
but we can talk about that later.
Did they use shadow glaives in the bow?
No.
So they didn't even use the God Wars 2 weapon. They used a random. I don't think Sivers should have been in this. If they didn't include glaives, they shouldn't have included Sivers in this. I had it in my brain that they did, so I was willing to be okay with it. I'm not okay with it. I don't think they should have used that.
I'll just say make it make sense. The recipe list is what it is, and
if you got a justification for this, at me. I would love to hear somebody justify this.
And I will say, with this, that when you look at this list that's here, I mean, it is asking people effectively, the people who are wanting to, Iron Man this or make their own Masterwork weapon. This is asking them to learn Virago. And at that point, you say, well, if I'm making a Masterwork staff, should I learn Virago or should I just learn hard mode Carapac and get the actual fractured staff of Armadillo? And I'll just leave it at that, and then you can decide. That is what it comes down to at the end of the day.
Masterwork staff is technically higher tier unless you also learn Sanctum. But
but it has no effect. So that equation might change to get an effect.
It will.
Yeah, but we don't know what it's going to be. We're going to find that out.
It could be bad.
It could be bad. It could be Staff of Celestia.
It is likely to be weaker than this Staff of Armadillo. Although, again, based off of price, I wouldn't be surprised if eventually the Soa was cheaper, which is given how much work it takes to make.
Well, and when we get to this at the end of it here, you start to see that everything we have here it all, felt good up until this point. Then the questions started to emerge when we got to the list here.
Well,
but
okay, so do
again,
we want to go for
I've
the
been pushing
benefit of
Vertical a
people,
lot lately.
for the benefit of the people listening? Do we want to go through what it takes to make this?
Yeah, we probably should, because see that's the thing. I've had the list up on screen, but go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll do it rapid fire. So you need 3 volatile runic bricks, which you make by each volatile runic brick. First, you have to chisel 1,000 rune essence fragments, which you do 1 inventory at a time from pure essence, and then you take 1,000 of every non-necrotic, non-combination rune. So like the standard elemental and catalytic runes, including time runes and astral runes. Take all of those things to any runecrafting altar, and you will make 1 volatile runic brick. You need 3 of them. You need 20 eternal magic staves, the inert ones, just the ones you make from the eternal logs. You need 2 attuned crystal magic weapons, specifically wands, orbs, or staves. Any of the melee or ranged weapons don't work. Those you take to the dragon altar or dragon forge and you break down into essence. As we said, you need 2 seismic weapons. Again, you break those down for essence. And you need 2 of the Sawir weapons, Cyweir, Kuir, Hellweir weapons, breakdown for essence. You need 1 glorious bar. You need 2 undead dragon leather, 2 brown dye, 1 cut diamond, 4 gold bars, and then the new thing, the abyssal runic synapse, which is dropped randomly when runecrafting through the abyss at 110 runecrafting. This is another thing that's kind of weird because there's bad luck mitigation on it. You can get more than 1, but there's no other purpose for it.
Is it tradable?
No.
Huh.
It's not tradable. There is literally no reason to have more than 1 of them unless you want to make another staff to sell. Which if you want to do, that's fine. But I do think it's a little bit of a myth compared to...
You should be able to turn them into the Dark Mage for like a small XP lamp worth of XP
exactly.
or something.
Exactly.
Like the branches from the trees. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep. Feels weird to get. It's like pieces from Imcondo pieces from Bird's Nest. It's like, I don't want these. This is just garbage. Give me better nest.
Although at least you can toggle that off now. You can't toggle this off. You just keep getting
That's another thing that like should have had a toggle from release day and didn't.
Well, yeah.
So we'll see.
True. And then once you do all that, you have to go and you spend a long time imbuing. Some things you have to do at an altar or at an anvil. Eventually, you will get a Masterwork Staff. And I hope you have a TV show. I hope you have Netflix for the last step, because the final step, taking all of the pieces to a runecrafting altar, is 37.5 minutes of doing nothing.
Nice.
Just 2,000 ticks of imbuing.
1 XP each, probably.
1 XP each.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Masterwork crafting at its finest.
And that's why I say I'll just let everybody else decide if this is worth your time or if you'd rather, make the money and go get a fractured staff and earn the money to upgrade that to tier 100. So I'll let everybody
stress people put into that. No, I'll pass.
Make their own decision on that.
Until we, as of right now, without there being a special or a passive or anything on it, I don't really see the point. I mean, I see the point if, like, I remember on the 110 mining and smithing episode, Tanis said he had a friend who just wanted whatever had the biggest number on it. If you're that person, go for it.
Or if you don't, or if you for some reason had the seismics and the Cyweir stuff, and you have the ability to go through
already had the seismics, go for it. But like if you're buying the seismics, the tier 95 wand and orb from Sanctum is cheaper. If you're an Iron Man, tier 95 wand and orb is easier to get.
Yeah, no, 100%. On the Iron Man, if I really wanted to go hard on Magic, I'm hanging out in Sanctum.
Yeah.
For not even hard mode. I'm just hanging out on normal mode Sanctum, honestly.
I don't see a reason. Like, even for me, I'm making it because I want all the things.
Yep.
I bought an Inquisitor staff ages ago. Any place I would use this, I'm just going to use my Inquisitor staff.
Yeah, and it's also,
true, huh?
you know, I can also go back to what we did for the 110 woodcutting and fletching episode with Avernick, where he just didn't have, you know, any of the other things that were available there, and that's why he went for it. But the question is, you know, with this, would he have something like Seismics? And if that's the stumbling block, then you can imagine that somebody in his position isn't doing this. So.
And, I mean, it might for someone be an impetus to start learning Virago. And again, if that's you, fantastic. I don't know. For me, I'm going to make it, but I don't see myself using it as of today.
Well, just for the energy to make the armor and the sheer volume of combat achievements at Virago, I think it's like there should be more people who are learning it over time, right? Like it just holds so many combat achievement points. What do we say, like 30-some elites? Like it
is a lot.
Virago alone could get you the hard achievements. No, that's not true. The medium achievements. It's kind of crazy. So, yeah. The Virago, good boss, deserves love, but no, not this much love.
And that's 110 runecrafting here for you, folks.
Woo!
Exhale.
Indeed. And just a couple of patch notes on this here that came out this week, and this one is not actually directly related to 110 runecrafting. They improved the readability of the Lumberjack's Intuition VFX. Also, log shavings used in the Masterwork bow creation process are now in a separate fletching category from their respective wood, as they were previously selected as the default recipe due to their high fletching level.
Yep.
And added a toggle option at Zoe, allowing trees and decorations in Fort 4 and 3 to automatically update with the seasons.
I love that.
For the people who want to switch between Halloween, Christmas, and presumably soon, Easter. Though I'll be leaving
it's also
Christmas.
It also, the trees have each season, just like the player-owned farm. If you don't have the seasonalizer on, the trees change too. So that's I'm turning this on. I'm excited for this. That's a really cool change. Thank you for whoever coded that in.
Just one of those other little immersion things that gets added over time for that. But we also have this week, and I realize we're getting near the back end of the show for this one, for anybody who came from this at the very beginning, a new chapter for Jagex with new CEO Mod North. Mod Pips, Phil Mansell, is stepping back from the CEO role after being CEO for 8 years as CEO and 14 years at Jagex. And
very surprised to hear this announcement.
Yeah, it came right after RuneFest, and you know, I think that's the time you announce something like that. The new CEO, John Bellamy, worked at Jagex from 2015 to 2018, and more recently was an advisor for CVC. He has also the experience of playing RuneScape, maxing an RS3 account and nearly maxing an old school account on his. He's
a long time
player and been doing things around the game community here. I think the thing that we walked away from on this is that, you know, these sorts of things happen in the corporate world. These sorts of things, in particular with the game companies, happen over time where we see changes like this. They address the elephant in the room that this wasn't, related to the membership survey that came out, because things like this do take more time than just a couple of months to kind of tee up and get in the pipeline. But Zerdones, what was your first take on his messaging here?
I mean, I'm debating whether or not I want to actually say this on the show, but as someone who doesn't play old school and only plays RS3, I was a little bit disheartened and maybe this is fair because Old School does have the higher active player count, more daily active users. It's the one that people are generally more excited about. But listening to him talk, I heard a whole lot of stuff about what he was going to do for Old School, and he didn't really seem all that enthusiastic about RS3. And that made me kind of sad.
And you know what the thing is that I'll point out about what he said about RS3, and the thing that I immediately picked up on that? It wasn't a lack of passion for it, like what you said. But what it was is that he said that he's going to tune down microtransactions and that they haven't got the balance right, and that the current RuneScape 3 model isn't sustainable.
This was the second thing that jumped out to me, and actually I'll let you say your bit.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of curious that you got the Old School side of this, because I think they definitely like directed a good bit of this at the Old School folks. But if you look at the like, there's a timestamps on this like 15-minute video they put out on both RuneScape and Old School channels at the same time. The RS3 side actually kind of got more screen time than the Old School side did. Like we got more things directed at us. Which again, we have roughly 20% of Jagex's player volume. So that is interesting to me. And they don't call it RuneScape 3 Jagex. They just call it RuneScape. And the same thing I noticed at RuneFest, which is like, we differentiate because, you know, when I talk to people out in the world and I say RuneScape, they're like, oh, you play Old School? Or, you know, you play like, the brain doesn't even come to their mind that, oh yeah, there is an RS3 OEC exists. Haha, lol. So it seemed like we definitely got I felt like we got our fair shake of this, but maybe that's just the lens I was looking at it through. But it's also like, he said a lot of things that seem to be like, hey, we understand. Like, they are very clearly aware of the feedback the community is giving, which I think is the best thing I could like guarantee say from any of this, is that like they are, without any shadow of a doubt, aware of the things that we like and do not like about what has happened between the games in the last like 5, even 10 years, right? Like and his words about like turning the tanker regarding MTX and RS3, that it's a system that is like so ingrained in the game. Like, think about just like, man, like go to a even semi-crowded world and go to anywhere there are other players and just count the number of people wailing on dummies or like using Proteans or doing like, it's definitely, especially in the main side of the game, very kind of the MTX related XP items and objects. You still have to train, but the training is like it's integrated really well. Yeah.
And that was my question when he said it wasn't sustainable. Is this the question that the monetization model isn't sustainable going forward, in that for them to continue making money at the same pace that the market would demand that they make money at? Is that something that they couldn't do with this community without, you know, having the community run away? That's my question on this. Does it mean that, or does it mean that the way the game is built right now, they're just not going to be able to keep necessarily making the amount of money they want from it?
I think it's too mobile gaming for people that want to play a game like RuneScape. I think that's what I take from it, is like they worry that they are doing, the systems are too loud and they're scaring away people. And I think I read that as not sustainable for player numbers, that like the game won't continue to be here in 20 years if they keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah, and that's the question. Is it not sustainable? Is it not sustainable from the money numbers as it is right now, or is it not sustainable from the player numbers? Those are the two things I read that with, and I'm not sure which side to fall down on. What do you think, Sir Domes?
Very little of this makes sense to me. I had a long conversation with Sirion about this, and like I don't. It doesn't compute to me, because I agree, Thaxi, I agree with you. I think what he's trying to say is the game won't be here in another 20 years if we keep microtransactions at the level they are, or if we continue in the course where microtransactions are getting a more significant part of the game. And are they to the level of like mobile games or like Clash of Clans or like huge games, which is where Mod North came from originally before us? No, we're not that far, but we are. It is clearly more intrusive than it was 10 years, 5 years ago, even last year. This is what I don't get, though. The first thing I don't get is it is very inexpensive to run an MMO. It's very hard to update an MMO, keep an MMO active, and
just
producing new
for
content.
The servers isn't.
It's really inexpensive to just keep servers running and just have whales gambling, and that will make you a lot of money. Like not an ungodly amount of money, but a reasonable amount of money.
That's the Star Trek Online model, the World of Tanks model.
Star Trek Online model. It's like, I don't watch it anymore, but I used to watch a lot of Josh Strife Hayes' worst MMO ever videos.
Oh, sure,
and you watch those, you see this a lot, where it's just dead MMOs that are basically just cash shops.
Maintenance mode, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, as a player, as someone who enjoys RuneScape and wants RuneScape to continue being as I remember it, that future is horrifying to me. As an investor, as CVC, I don't necessarily see a problem with that. That's like that's money. If
exactly.
I can still get money
that is the unfortunate reality of investment companies and money and games.
And that gets me to the other thing that I don't get is the way I'm interpreting Mod North's statement is, he wants to tune down MTX. He wants to have less obtrusive, probably, I'm interpreting a little bit, but less gambling-y, probably toning down Treasure Hunter a bit, maybe introducing more cosmetic monetizations.
Sure.
But microtransactions as they exist today, at least as of the last numbers we have, which granted are several years old at this point, MTX is like 20 to 30% of Jagex's revenue. If you're trying to tune that down, you are reducing that number by some amount. And if I'm CVC, I'm saying, okay, you're taking this. I'm thinking two things. First thing I'm thinking is you're taking this money away, so you had better come up with an equivalent increase in subscriptions. And like, take an extreme example. If we tuned MTX revenue all the way down, we would have to increase based on the 2022 numbers. If we turned MTX revenue down to 0, we would have to increase subscribers we'd have to find 500,000 subscribers to break even. So that's a lot. And as CVC, that makes me very nervous. Second thing that I'm thinking is, okay, let's say you do have a magic way to increase subscribers. Clearly, there is an audience that is okay with RuneScape as it exists, with the monetization it clearly exists. RuneScape is making money. So, can we rub fingers together? Can we increase subscribers and also have MTX? Question mark. Why can't we do? Why not both? Porque no los dos. So I don't understand how he can do this, I guess, is where I'm landing on.
Yeah.
How is he not fired?
Here's my, like, I don't know how any of this works, right? Like, that's my biggest takeaway from this, in terms of, like, my perspective, I think, is maybe the better way to, like, explain this. Because that question of, like, what they're doing, I have no idea. I would love to assume they have a plan, and I think that might be a bold assumption. But specifically, people are concerned with, like, this communication about, like, the things that you guys are talking about. Like, is he talking about it from a, like, player numbers perspective, or from a, like, the game is not monetarily sound perspective? I don't think that's something they put in if they're talking from a board member perspective, because this is not communication to a board. This is communication directly to players. And I think if they meant it to be like, if they're trying to be cagey about what they say to players, I just don't think they say anything to us about the topic, right? Like, that's why my assumption is, in this case, they're talking about player numbers. And I don't know what they have planned for, like, as you say, like, change the monetization. I think that's what he means by turn the tanker, is that, like, yeah, monetization is we have to earn the money somehow. And changing how that revenue comes in is something we're going to have to do gradually with open communication to you. That's what they're, like, directly saying to the players, because the current model is unsustainable. And again, unsustainable when you're messaging players doesn't to me look like, you know, the board is going to be unhappy, we're not making as much money, the, like, parent company. That's message to the players of, like, hey, players, we know you're not happy. That's like, we understand that what we're doing is not sustainable for you. So that's where I'm reading all this from, is more an aspect of, like, yes, there's money to be in, but I think we're reading way too much into the money side of things from announcements that was almost entirely, like, game content based. Like, it's so based at the players.
I don't disagree with that.
I'm not saying you can't take those things apart. I'm just saying that, like, you like, they are in some ways part and parcel, but I think that they have said very little about what's actually going to be happening from a Moneyball side of things. That's not the right excuse for that, but, like, you get the idea, right? Like, this is such a black box, and trying to read anything into the money side of it from this seems like a step too far to me. Like, I think just because it's not meant for the, like, they're not talking to us about that.
Well, we'll have a better idea in about 10 days when the next set of financials is published.
Yeah. So we have the 2022 numbers. We're getting the 2023 numbers, which is 1 year out of date from the numbers that we could have.
And the numbers that CBC has. Yeah, and that's the big gap in my confusion, is because we have out-of-date information. It's entirely possible something has significantly changed.
Right. We're going from 2 years out-of-date information to 1 year out-of-date information, which is better. And so we'll see more, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
but I guess, like, the ultimately my thing is, like, you're right. You're absolutely right. This is not a talking to investors, talking about money conversation. This is a trying to assuage the players conversation. And that's fair, but assuaging the players and also balancing the interests of the investors, that's Jagex's job.
Right. Those I need to underscore that it would be a very bad thing for a new CEO, to come out and have his first thing he does to be to lie to the players. And I want to underscore here that I'm not saying he is lying to the players right now. I don't think he is, but I'm saying that in the past, there have been business CEOs outside of Jagex that would do that exact same thing.
Right. That's another thing that surprised me is, I'm not saying he's lying. I'm not saying he's being dishonest. No. But he was very definitive in a way that was very surprising. And I don't remember seeing
we don't know how he can be so confident on these things.
And he's confident to the point that if he doesn't do it, like, he's put himself in a situation where he has to follow through.
He doesn't have a timeline, but you're right.
That's true. That's true.
My read into this, my biggest takeaway is they're aware, and their upper management is aware of the complaints we have. This was not something about, look at our exciting new stuff. They did that at RuneFest. This was okay, we hear you're upset. This is we hear you, we understand, we're going to try. They're not promising anything. They're not they're like, we're going to do what we can to address it. They promised to do something.
Yeah.
I mean, my biggest takeaway is that they hear us, right? Like, I play 3 or 4 MMOs at this point. I am very confident in the most cynical of ways that at least one of those MMOs, the devs do not play. Because hearing somebody talk about having a dev in one of their raid groups that they didn't know about, and they were just talking the game. Like we do not, we are not, they just don't. Like, they just don't play the game. They're not aware of what the community is going on. They're not aware that their servers are garbage, that, like, all of this is happening. The RuneScape devs, if any of those things like that were happening, they would know. RuneScape has 5 or 6 or 7 times the player base of that game, and I can name you 4 devs in-game accounts right now, and I won't. But, like, I could. Like, I know that the devs play this game and love this game. And the fact that they are letting us know that they are aware of our concerns at the higher levels, in addition to just the devs themselves, is encouraging.
Yeah. And I think the last
we'll
thing...
see how much they can follow through on it.
The last thing I want to say on this goes to your definitive natures or don'ts, is how definitive he was that there will never, ever be microtransactions on old school.
Yeah. So many of the people from that game are refugees from RS3 who quit because of the microtransactions, because of, like, predatory nature of microtransactions in so many other places. I think that was the words that needed to be said and the truth that needs to be true. Because if they ever tried to put Squeal of Fortune into old school, people would leave. People would just leave. They would lose money off of that, almost guaranteed.
Well, yeah, the RuneScape franchise at
Especially
that point would just be it would not be worth anything if that were to happen. So.
Like, I am willing to bet a strong amount of money that they would lose like 20 to 40% of their player base if they try to put Squeal.
More.
People still like the game. People would still play. People would just say, they would do an eat save, and they would just, I'm never going to touch microtransactions. I'm going to sit on 100 Squeal tokens and destroy everything else that comes at me. And God bless that man. He's stuck to his guns. We've got a few people in our producers chat that have that same conviction. And like, power to him, but I think most of the old school people wouldn't. I think a lot of them would try that, and eventually it wouldn't be sustainable. So, anyways, strong work recognizing that was a word that needed to be said. They're aware of the words that need to be said, and they're saying them.
Anything else, Zerdons, from Mod North?
I think I've said everything.
And I mean, until we see action, it's going to be kind of hard to say, because like I agree with you, a lot of what was said was obtuse, and when you start considering the monetary realities of it, you start wondering, well, what's changed, and where does all this land? So
based on the message so far, it is justifiable to be pessimistic about the future. It is justifiable to be optimistic about the future. We're just gonna have to see where it lands. Like you say, we know nothing. I'm hopeful, but I understand the flip side to that coin.
What have we been doing in RS? We'll go a little bit quick on this, since we're at that point in the show, Zerdones. I understand you have a new drop log update.
Yes, I do. I think the last time I gave an update, I was working on
Ziliana?
On the Big Bird.
Oh, right.
No, I was working on Big Bird.
Okay.
I finished Ziliana ages ago. But yes, I have finished Kriara now. 2,640 odd KC, got the pet.
Nice.
And I am now working on Krill, and I am ironically at exactly the same kill count I had for Kriara. Still no pet.
Look, if you're going to go dry on one of them,
yeah,
do worse than Krill. At least he prints money.
Yeah, Krill, I'm at least actually picking up drops.
Yeah.
I'm basically not picking up anything at any of the others except for uniques. But
poor Kriara, she used to have valuable drops. He used to have valuable drops.
The armor is still valuable. Everything else is not.
Mm-hmm.
How many subjugation pieces are you at?
Don't make
I've had 7 since I started farming. Since I've started this most recent bout of farming. But I did 1,600 normal mode kills as necromancy training. So I had a ton of subjugation from that. I don't know how many total off the top of my head. And I'm not in game at the moment.
Yeah, fair enough.
A lot in total.
A lot. Poor Parnassius, I believe he's still on 2 at 700 KC. He's been there tonight while we're recording, I believe. Poor guy.
That is brutal.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's real bad. It's like a 1 in 100, 1 in 120. A little bit better than that on hard mode, I think, maybe. But yeah, it's not great. He is unlucky. I have been kind of all over the place. I'm finally at a place with the group Ironman where I can like start to do the things I want to do, which is starting to provide specific resources to the group, and I am working on kind of growing that production of things. But I did hit 99 Herblore. I just need to get into Prif and start making overloads. But I've started making a ton of porters and charges and stuff to stick in group storage, and I am slowly chipping away at quests and things. I'm about 30 total levels away from being able to earn the quest cape.
So basically the resources are starting to sing is what I'm hearing.
Indeed. So, yeah, that's good. I'm sure there's other things I could talk about with it, but yeah, Group Ironman, it goes. The progress is neat. Been doing boss. I got some chiropractor straps. Nice on an Ironman, not nice on a main, so I will take it.
Righto. As for me, I'll start with the more simplistic thing. I got the XP level requirements in place for God Wars Dungeon 1, which of course enables a bunch of necromancy armors going forward, which is level 70 attack, strength, ranged, and agility to get into all 4 of the general's areas. I also decided to, I just noticed it was sitting there on the desk ready to go. Mauritania Easy task set is done, and Mauritania Medium is actually right around the corner too, just waiting to finish the Darkness of Hellvale quest. But the biggest thing of the week since being back is that I got 99 farming.
Woo!
Which I believe is my fourth probably 99 farming across a myriad of RuneScape accounts.
Have you ever had an account with an untrimmed cape that isn't farming? Has farming always been your first?
Farming has always been my first 99, yes.
Okay.
I contemplated making an agility on old school.
Just because you wanted to be different and cool?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but I
because that's the acceptable reason to do that.
Yeah, but I abandoned my plan and we'll probably get 99 farming there first as well.
He knows who he is.
Yeah,
at his core.
Yeah, because you can only run so many agility laps before you start to question your sanity, right?
And that's where we ended up. I do love that cape, though.
It is untrimmed. It would be amazing on old school.
That nice blue matches really nicely with the royal blue graceful.
Yeah, that would be exactly it. Exactly it. No, but aside from that, just been doing a lot of recovering this week, and I'm honestly surprised we're here right now at the end of the show, actually able to say that we did this episode. I maybe it's a little bit more longer-winded than expected because I've just been kind of letting the both of you take the wheel on this one, and I think we pulled out an okay show at the end of it.
Nonetheless, fair, we also had kind of like Mod North could have been an episode on himself.
He could have been.
Totally.
He could have been.
We're kind of doing 2 episodes in one here.
And I don't rule coming back to him if we get more information and if things with the money start adding up on that. But we do have a few achievements this week as well, going back to February. So starting off on March 11th, we had Euthanaxy with 99 Herblore, Bellicosity with 120 Invention, myself, as I mentioned, with 99 Farming on the 10th, Warrock 120 Hunter on the 10th as well. On the 7th, we had Chimney Lax with 99 Magic and Pero Picante with 99 Divination. Then on March 6th, we had Asuna 114 with 99 Firemaking, and Lady Claw on March 5th with 200 mil Firemaking and Woodcutting.
Oh, nice.
Skipping straight to March 3rd, we have Atreus 99 Invention, and Pero Picante with 99 Runecrafting and Hunter. March 2nd, Big Rax with 99 Herblore, Asuna 114, 99 Construction, and Shiro Shano, 99 Necromancy.
Hey.
March 1st, Thaxi again, 99 Divination, Mr. M, 120 Necromancy, and Zabros, 99 Necromancy. February 28th, Pero Picante, 99 Cooking, and Zerker 602, 99 Herblore. Zerker again, February 27th, 99 Smithing. And then February 26th, Alone Shogun, 99 Defense, and Erendil 20, The Evening Star, 120 Constitution.
Going to the 25th of February, we had Kodlioko 252 with 99 Necromancy, Erendil 20 with 120 Firemaking, Edict with 120 Herblore on the 24th. Also on the 24th, Parapicante's 99 Construction. I think he's getting really close to max. I'm talking about it. February 23rd, we had Rema Reaper with 120 Necromancy. February 22nd, we had Erendil 20 with 120 Crafting. Lady Claw with 200 mil Prayer. And Woody with 200 million Defense Experience. Also Warrock with 120 Thieving. I missed one. On the 21st, we had Darloff with 120 Invention, Ormen with 99 Construction, Sylvis with 120 Construction, and Woody with 200 million Summoning Experience.
Nicely done,
Congratulations,
everyone.
everybody. All the way back to DXP.
All right, Sir Dones, what do you got for pick of the week?
Pick of the week. I got a little bit of a weird one. I've got some local content. I am not American, despite my intonation. I am from the Great White North, and this is a Canadian show.
Alaska.
Alaska. Because, yes, we make television up here, too. This is a show called Murdoch Mysteries that is produced and airs on the CBC, Canada's national broadcaster. It's an older show. It started in 2005, I think. But I've started watching it recently with my wife because it's that nice kind of like cozy mystery show that we both quite like and have kind of a hard time finding good content on. So the premise of this show, it's essentially a police procedural like murder mystery show set in turn of the century Toronto. So it starts in the first season takes place in 1895, and it progresses sort of roughly 1 year per season. It is still currently airing. It's currently airing season 18, and they're up to the year 1913. So that's the kind of time frame.
Ooh, World War starting soon.
Yeah, they're going to be starting.
And that's just an
World
interesting
War.
time to live in too, as well.
It is. I think part of what's interesting about this is it is set in like the age of invention, and that's very much a core part of the show's identity.
Right.
It's become sort of less so. Well, not so much that. It's like in the early seasons, it's become less of a focus over time. But in the early seasons, sort of the gimmick was that. So William Murdoch is the main character. He's a police detective with the Toronto Constabulary. And his gimmick, because all TV detectives need to have a gimmick, his gimmick is that he is above average interest in science for a man of his day. Okay. So he, instead of following standard police procedure for the 1890s and just arresting the nearest minority that he sees, he actually does things like collect evidence and take fingerprints and evaluate motives. And he uses a whole bunch of like, he invents all these gizmos to help with police work. Most of them are genuine machines like that he's invented years early, like black lights, for instance. He invents for himself several years early. There's an episode where he teams up with Alexander Graham Bell and invents a machine to separate frequencies of sound from a recording so he can pinpoint footsteps in the background of a recording and uses that as a clue to solve the crime. That's kind of, that aspect is like the use of technology and logic is still very much a part of the character, but it's become less prominent in the show as those techniques become more common throughout the constabulary, and it's transitioned more into being like a standard twisty murder mystery. But it's still a lot of fun. It's it is about murder, so it's not no stakes, but it's relatively lighthearted. It's not like a Sin City kind of really gritty, dark. It's broadly pleasant. It's fun.
How
It's
does
a lot
it
of
do
fun.
for showcasing the time periods?
What do you mean by showcasing? The
Like,
time
how
period?
does it do for showcasing early 20th century Canada?
I think it's well, you would be very unhappy with it because they do spend almost all of their time in Toronto. They don't go very far outside of the greater Toronto area. It's kind of like a big deal when they have to go as far as like Guelph.
Oh, okay.
Uh, they have occasionally gone farther. There's one episode where Murdoch actually goes all the way out to BC to chase down
Well,
a suspect.
and to be fair, I think that's fine because you put that in the lens
On
of
the right coast.
a detective of that era. They're not necessarily going to be traveling what was a frontier at that time. So I think
Right,
that's
like,
okay.
bear in mind, this is still like relatively early
Yeah.
in the train, like cross Canada rail being a thing.
Yeah.
But they do showcase like there's a couple of episodes where Murdoch goes off. There's one episode where I think at the end of one season he leaves the police department, and the next season picks up. He's gone to the Yukon after the gold rush.
Right. And basically what I meant is that, obviously I don't expect them to, travel out west here and whatnot, but just basically could you, based on what you know of your own knowledge of what the area was like at the, turn of the century there, do you feel that it gives a good representation of what turn of the century, that part of Ontario would have been like?
I think so. It's interesting to sort of see that city because Toronto, like I don't live very far from Toronto. I live far enough that I can avoid it and mostly do. But I go there occasionally, and it's the largest city in Canada. It's, if you include the metropolitan area, it has a population of like 4 million people or something like that. It's a very large city, and it's very interesting seeing it through the lens of the early 20th century when it had a population of about 500,000.
Okay, that's what I was getting after.
It is quite interesting and different, and like the way police work is treated differently is very interesting. The other thing that this show does is it ties into social issues of the day very
Wonderful.
prominently.
Good.
So
Okay.
one of the main characters is Julia Ogden, who is Murdoch's love interest, but more importantly, she starts off the series as the coroner. So she's a female coroner in 1895, and that is brought up quite a lot. Like the fact that there are just not that many female doctors at the time. She gets very involved in the burgeoning suffragette movement in Canada again a couple of seasons later, and they get involved with blanking on the name, but like they bring in a lot of historical guest characters. I mentioned Alexander Graham Bell. Helen Keller is a guest character in one episode. Nellie Bly, I think, shows up at one point.
Okay.
Female Emma Goldman. That's who I was reaching for. Emma Goldman shows up.
That's kind of what I was going for because I think it's interesting when you set something in a specific time period, but then when you actually start delving into the ramifications of that time period, whether that be the social things, whether that just be things that were happening in and around that time, I think that's when that becomes more interesting as a setting piece. And if you can do that with the show at hand, I think that only serves to benefit the show.
I think what's very interesting about it is like they touch on a lot of the social issues that would be relevant to us today. Like they touch on first wave feminism, I'm up to about season 11 now, and they've brought in a couple of black characters, and so they've done a lot of discussion on like the specific kinds of issues that black people faced at the time and continue to face today. But they also bring up discrimination against the Irish or against Murdoch himself, who is a practicing Catholic, and at the time would have, and in the show does, face a lot of discrimination for that reason.
Right.
And that's the kind of thing that like you don't really think about today.
Yeah.
But at the time, yeah, like Irish and Catholics, and particularly Irish Catholics, were a underclass at the time. So it's interesting in that respect as well.
Okay.
In the latest season, they've added. I haven't seen the latest seasons yet, but I've learned that they added Paul Sun-hyung Lee, who is a Korean Canadian actor. He's famous for Kim's Convenience, and so he's been added to the show in the most recent season. So I'm guessing they're going to be touching on anti-Asian discrimination a lot more.
Which, of course, again, was a big thing in the early 20th century in Canada as well.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
All right. I will give that show marks then for being well done across the board for that. And
my one minor criticism, sorry, I'm just skipping over my notes. My one minor criticism, you can tell that none of the actors are locals because they all pronounce it Toronto and not the correct way, Toronto. So sort yourselves out, actors. Other than that.
And of course, you know how I pronounce it.
Yes, absolutely.
Alrighty, well that's a pick of the week. I don't know where folks outside of this country are gonna watch this.
Oh yeah, where you can get it. It's streaming on CBC Gem, which is the CBC's streaming service.
But can people outside Canada watch that?
I believe so.
Oh really?
Should be able to.
Let's see, Murdoch Mysteries. Let me find out for you as an American, non-Canadian.
The token American.
Stream. Apparently, it's available on Roku, Acorn TV, Sling TV. It's available with YouTube Premium. I don't even know if you have to pay for it. It's just there. Hulu subscriptions, YouTube, Amazon Prime Video, Apple TV, Fandango. Apparently, it's available like everywhere for us.
Oh, interesting.
So,
yeah, it's very popular. It's one of the CBC's most popular original programming shows, which is probably why it's lasted almost 20 years.
Yeah, and that's saying a lot given the
a lot of places, but relatively widely syndicated.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I mean, I know that it's on CBC Gem, and which is free, but you need to sign up. You need to give it your email. But if you can get it other places, fantastic.
None of these will give it to you without an email, so.
Well, yeah. But some of them people might already have, right? Like I imagine probably a lot of people have Hulu or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, that pretty much brings us to the end of this 110 Runecrafting back episode. A big episode, as it was. If you want every episode of Update delivered automatically as they arrive, update.show/subscribe. We're on all the podcast listening services out there, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, and of course YouTube as well, youtube.com/RSBANDB. As many folks can tell, my voice is probably dying out at this point right now. So thank you to the both of you for largely carrying this show this week and just allowing me to ease back into things. We needed to do a show this week, and hopefully listeners are glad to have Update back. Anybody have anything to say before we go?
We have talked a lot.
We have.
Thanks for your attention, everybody.
If you're still here, good on you.
And with that being said, we'll see you guys next week for another episode of RSBANDB Update. See you then, everyone. Take care.
Bye.